It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. All right, my friends, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is 7/11, the 11th day of July 2013 on this Thursday edition. And I've said this hundreds of times. You've all heard it before. One reason my show is listenable is that I have quite a bit of data, a lot of research. I know a lot of factoids. I also can be entertaining when I blow up and melt down on air. But at the same time, we have a lot of amazing guests. And there is no radio consultant out there saying, hey, you ought to do this, you ought to do that. And in a way, that's good, but in a way, it's bad. Because I know that overall, even 10 years ago, sometimes I probably generally did a better radio show than I do now. Now, obviously, at points, the broadcast is more informed by an order of several magnitude. There are high points much higher than the type of info and understanding, but also just good radio than I had 10 years ago. Overall, we reach dizzying heights of awakening and flat-out entertainment. So there are bigger diamonds, but overall, I would say less diamonds in the aggregate. Because I've been doing this so long, I want to not degenerate instead of evolve and develop and get better. And a lot of it is that I really could care less what people think about me now completely. I don't have as big an ego as I had 10, 15 years ago, where I would care about how I sounded or how I looked. And people ask me all the time, is your show real or is it an act? And I believe what I'm saying. When I get mad, it's real, but I'm letting myself do it. So does that make it an act? It's real, but there's an element to free will to go wild on the air. Now, quite frankly, sometimes, folks, I go so wild that I'm really asking myself, am I lying to myself just now? Wishing that I could say that I was in control. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. You've heard me hundreds of times start the broadcast in the last 5 years and say, I really want to take a lot of calls today. I mean, even big shows are amazed when their phone lines load. Ladies and gentlemen, I can turn on a computerized phone system and take 100 calls that will come in just a minute. Most shows lean on the callers like a boxer leaning on the ropes or holding the person they're boxing to rest. With me, it's the opposite. It's more of a frenzied, manic, frothing, kind of, what's the right word for it? Berserk. A berserking, fits and starts, train wreck. I mean, I can conduct the best radio interviews out there, sound like Charlie Rose, ask great questions, sit back, listen to the people, come off. I mean, I can do it in English accent if I wanted to. But I can't control myself. I won't do it. I could get up here and get calm like I am when I'm not on air and completely, eloquently communicate things. But then I get on air. What I'm saying is I get on air, and I'm like half the man I am off the air. And so there is mega massive news. But when I come back, I'm going to give the phone number out. And I'm going to take 30 or 40 phone calls the next hour, or I'm going to have John Bound punch me in the nose live on air. That's a good way to start the broadcast, quoting Thomas Jefferson. It is 7/11, Thursday, July 11th, 2013. And here's what I want to do. And I've said this many times and really never done it in the last few years, but I do want to open the phones up right out of the start of the show, very early on, for your questions, your comments. If you agree, you disagree, first-time callers. I was listening to a little bit of the rebroadcast last night when I got in bed at about 11 o'clock at night and happened to hear a caller call in who I was a little bit rude to, just because I get so irritated by all the news and what's happening. And then, you know, the callers will ask me if they can talk about something, and that's kind of my pet peeve. You're on the air. I mean, you can come on and bring up whatever subject you want, but still I was being a little bit rude with the gentleman. And that's just my observation, so I apologize. It's not a personal thing. This stuff really gets to me. And I get asked that a lot. How do you handle it? How does Alex Jones handle the pressure of reading this info and studying this info and then trying to talk about it? And the answer is I really don't handle it. I mean, I guess it's almost a form of therapy once I've gone over all this news, morning, noon, and night, and then come on air, but it's really almost like torture because each story I could spend an hour on just fleshing out. Here's an example from yesterday, then I'll get to all the latest news we're going to be covering and then give the number out and go to your calls, and then second hour start getting into the news in depth. Because I want to shake the show up myself. The broadcast is exploding. It's getting all this attention, and you know, I tune in and listen to it sometimes, and it's really informative and great and sounds like really professional radio. Other times it sounds like somebody released a gorilla on PCP from the New York Zoo or something. But, I mean, look at this article. This is why I freak out. Patient wakes up as doctors get ready to remove organs. And then I am an expert on this from researching it for 4 years. Since I learned they were stealing organs, because my dad rewired jaws in hospitals and things and said it was well known they were killing people. And then it turned out Dallas hospitals were killing even healthy people for their organs. And Chicago and Austin, I mean, and Houston and New York. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's only the naivete of the general public that allows this type of stuff to go on. So there's an example. If I start reading this on air and then start demonically laughing on purpose to try to illustrate to people how over the top this is, because when you read the article, it's like, well, the nurses told him she was alive and had good brainwaves and pulse and was responding to nerve stimulus, and that she had just, you know, the woman had a prescription pill overdose, and that they should pump her stomach and give her charcoal, and that she would be fine. And the doctor said, no, we're taking her in to take her organs. And by the grace of God, as they began to prepare to do the opening incision, cutting through her ribs, busting her all open, to take their time sucking her dry. They even take the blood, the marrow, you know, they sanguinate the whole deal. They can get $500,000 if the organs are all in order. $500,000. And the doctors reportedly, in some cases, get as much as a third of the cash. So you had a costly divorce, you've got a lot of alimony you're paying, child support, you got a $5 million house as a surgeon. What do they call those that get the organs out? And it just goes on and on. No, but this is a living person. What's an organ surgeon? A thoracic surgeon? Let's look it up. The point is that, you know, you got a $5 million house. I mean, you don't want to just make $10,000 on a surgery. I mean, you want to make $100,000, $200,000, you know, whatever. And my dad was a dentist and oral surgeon, and he just said it's well known in the medical community. The doctors say to their families, don't sign the organ donor card. Because a lot of hospitals, if you come in unconscious, I mean a knock on the head. They're going to kill you. And you see, they are the establishment wearing the white uniform, like a cop wearing a blue or black uniform, and so everyone bows down while you're the expert. See, medical tyranny is what Hitler went with first because he could get away with it because the people would bow down to it and follow orders from it. And so, just so you know my frustration, I've seen cases, I mean, there's a low probability these people were just idiots and didn't listen to the nurse and just decided to not, you know, get the pills out of her stomach or whatever, and just decided to not administer the charcoal, and just, okay, maybe, you know, 1 in 1,000, in my opinion, in my researched, educated view on this. But we know all over the country they kill people, and it's come out. And again, when I was 15 years old going to get my, take driver's ed and everything, and I was taking driver's ed at school, I was going to take the final test a few months before I was 16. And my dad was taking me there some days, you know, for the after-school driver's ed, because there was also some after-school stuff, driving classes, whatever you call it. And he told me, listen, don't sign that card. And he said, the doctors don't do it with their kids and their wives and their husbands. And I said, why? And he goes, I've just been told that they will not take care of you. And I said, what, if you're brain dead? He goes, no. I mean, the word is they're killing healthy people. And he said, I'm just going to leave it at that. Don't sign it. So I did what he said. And then later, years later, it came out on 60 Minutes and stuff. The point is, you read this article, and separate from them taking the organs, from people that could easily be saved and who aren't brain dead, aren't even brain damaged, just like it was a conspiracy theory in the news 5 years ago that Israel was grabbing detainees and then putting them under and taking their organs. Turned out that was true. You know, first it was what, Dutch newspapers and others that reported it when Israeli doctors blew the whistle. And it was like, oh, anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. But then it turned out it was true. They were taking the organs. But see, the media then tried to make it about, oh, you're saying, you know, Jews are inherently evil stealing organs, when that wasn't even the issue. Corrupt governments and corrupt institutions all over the world traffic in organs, children, drugs, weapons, chemicals, you name it. And the public being chumps is what allows all this to happen. And then you read the article, and it's just like that New York Times article about Bayer shipped its riskier products overseas. Risky? They knew it had HIV and hepatitis in the factor VIII and shipped it into countries where they had already given political contributions like Canada and France and Australia, and so they could get away with it. And it came out, they knew it was a death sentence, they did it. That's not risky. If I go over and kill my neighbor, it's not oh, Alex did a risky thing. No, that's a side diversion. And it's like this ABC News article. This is one article out of no exaggeration, probably 200 on my desk. All just as important. It's all about, oh, it was just an accident, but thank goodness she opened her eyes. And then it was so human that it was like, oh, she opened her eyes, this is too obvious. And then they had to not cut her organs out. And then it describes what went on. It was exactly midnight when Colleen Burns eerily opened her eyes and looked at the orbiting lights above her. Shocked doctors who believed she was dead. Believed she was dead. It goes on to say that the nurses told them, heart rate, everything. She's right there. Pump, you know, get. So see, they're like, oh, they believe she was dead. And we're about to remove her organs and donate them to patients on the transplant waiting list because they had the money. The Syracuse Post-Standard unearthed a report. See, this stuff's all over the place because it's just a report. Nothing's ever done. From the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, that's like Satan overseeing a low-level demon, that chronicled the series of errors that led to the near organ removal of a living patient at St. Joseph Hospital Health Center in Syracuse, New York in 2009. This just broke yesterday. The patient did not suffer any type of arrest of the heart, did not have irreversible brain damage. The HHS report concluded the patient did not meet criteria for withdrawal of care. So see, once you're withdrawing care, somebody's alive now, we're going to withdraw care and take their organs. Well, now it's just, we're just going to take it even though you're alive, and, well, you better hope you open your eyes. Next it'll be, we have to sedate them because they're dead, so they're a zombie. We have to. According to the report, doctors had inaccurately diagnosed Burns with irreversible brain damage. Yeah. And ignored nurses who noticed signs that Burns was improving. She curled her toes when touched, flared her nostrils, and moved her mouth and tongue. Oh, she's like trying to come out of it. Hey, let's pump her stomach. Let's get the... No. She was also breathing on her own, even though she was on a respirator. Well, see, that's part of the act. That's like when a SWAT team raids Amish for having their own milk. It's all part of the theater. Oh, look, we have guns and armored vehicles. They're bad. They're bad. We wouldn't be here if they weren't bad. Oh, here, let's put me on a respirator. They could have just got Michael Hastings, stuck him on a respirator. He's like, get it out of my mouth. And they're like, shut up. Boom. This is it's all theater. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. And then it's her on the table fighting for her life. Next they'll just say, she's really a zombie. I mean, that's how this works now. And they'll go, it's a conspiracy theory that anybody's alive. We'll take all your organs. It's for the children. And if you don't like it, you're a racist. What's that have to do with medical tyranny? That's what every racist says. 800-259-9231. Huge news coming up. 800-259-9231. When I come out of the gates in the next segment, I'm going right to your phone calls. Then I'll get to the Justice Department, finally the media's paying attention, organizing the Trayvon Martin protest, trying to organize riots, I guess to be a distraction from all of the big scandals that are racing around right now. And the judge interfering, unprecedented, trying to prejudice the jury, basically. You've got the police chief saying they were pressured to basically arrest him, even though they knew from all the witnesses that he had been assaulted. And regardless of what you think of Zimmerman, this is a giant media diversion, and they're trying to create division with it. And Trayvon jumped on top of him and beat the daylights out of him. And but the point is, it's just a mindless soap opera. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into some incredible medical news. Worms regrow their decapitated heads along with their memories, which a lot of science shows is actually accurate. I'm going to break down what that really means. Folks, your spinal cord is a continuation of your brain. Your stomach has brain-type tissue in it. It's not just this brain up here. That's why you drink beer, you get, drunk up here. Of course, the blood also picks up the alcohol and takes it up there. But that's what autism is. These kids are poisoned by the pesticides and all the rest of it in the food. But we're going to be getting into that. We're going to get into William F. Jasper, editor of The New American, is going to be joining us. Transatlantic danger, EU-U.S. merger talks underway in D.C. Oh, yeah. That actually already happened back in 2007, but now they're going public with it. We're going to be breaking that down. We're going to be getting into just a ton of news. Lawmaker demands the National Guard patrol the streets of Chicago to stop gun violence. The truth is, this has already been going on for 4 years. Before Blagojevich got indicted, he had already deployed them for about a week. And they're still there off and on. We've confirmed, but there's hardly ever any news coverage. So this is just all part of take the citizens' guns, then only criminals have guns, then the whole society collapses, and then the government gets to bring in martial law, which is why the establishment wants a disarmed chicken neck population that can't defend itself. It's simple psychology. They want you dependent, so that's coming up. But briefly, back to this New York case, where a newspaper did its job and noticed a report where one of the nurses complained and pointed out they were putting this lady on a respirator who was coming out of it, and that they just simply wanted to pump her stomach and try to get the drug overdose out of her stomach, a multi-drug overdose according to the report. And again, people say, well, why stick her on a ventilator? When they start taking the organs, she's going to die for real. So you've got to have that going to take your time getting them. So I thought I would play a little clip here from Monty Python. What film is this? I forget. The Meaning of Life? Yeah. And this is basically, it's satirical, but this is how it works. They come to the house force their way in, say, hey, you got an organ donor card, we're taking your organs now. Because, see, they need that consent up front. And I'd be forgiving organs if you die in a car wreck or something. But you have a corrupt system. And they will look the other way and in some cases outright kill you when you go into the hospital. They're already euthanizing people all over the world. Once you bring in socialist health care, the case for killing Granny, cover of Newsweek. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones. This is the GCN Radio Network. GCNlive.com is the network website. My sites are prisonplanet.com, Infowars.com, and we are here to awaken humanity and to wage war on corruption. Stay with us. More straight ahead. There are a lot of people in this world who want money and power and want to dominate. And they don't know how to go out and write a book. They don't know how to play a piano. They don't know how to build a new electronic device. They don't know how to develop a new chemical processes to become wealthy and powerful. They know how to organize in gangs and force you to transfer your money and your wealth to them, and to set up systems of propaganda that rationalize how they're doing that. I'm going to go directly to your phone calls for the balance of the hour, and then cover news, then go back to your phone calls. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. Now, once I go to your calls, just make your point, your question. I'm going to move to the next person, or I'll go into an hour-long diatribe. Or the first caller will be, I'm here during a mass shooting or something, and then the whole show will go that direction, which has actually happened before, where before it was even on the news. In the Blacksburg shooting, we had a caller call in and was saying it was happening. They could even hear the shots. And I'm like, is this true? Is this real? And 10 minutes later, it was on the news. But before we go to them, my favorite health product, and that we've just seen miraculous results in weight loss, overall health, skin conditions going away, joint issues. So many people are malnourished. Beyond Tangy Tangerine at InfoWarsHealth.com. You get the biggest discounts there. Had a ORAC score of 5,745 per serving. That's off the charts. It's got hundreds of different things in you need. 90 essentials, the trace elements, you name it. Guess what, folks? They now have a totally organic one. It is so hard to have a certified, third-party certified, and USDA certified when you have hundreds of different ingredients. It is so hard. It took them 2 years. They did it, and it's got a score of, get ready for this, ladies and gentlemen, 8,000 total ORAC per serving. Citrus Peach Fusion. And I love both flavors. And the flavors grow on you as well, because your body just gets to where it knows how much nutrients are in it. And they're still selling the old Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I don't know which flavor I like best. I'm kind of, this one's growing on me. At first, I liked the old one better. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine, it's called tangerine, but I think it tastes like kind of fruit punchy to me, / orange juicy, with 115 vegetables and fruits. This one's got even more. And it's just, there's nothing like it out there, and your purchase supports the broadcast as well. You can sign up for auto ship and get free shipping at InfoWarsHealth.com as well. And you can also become a distributor when you pay $10 like Costco or whatever, and get big discounts at InfoWarsTeam.com if you want to become a distributor. But the Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 Citrus Peach Fusion, made with certified organic ingredients, all non-GMO ingredients. Not just organic, I'm sorry, non-GMO on top of it. You can also call. We'll put that back up on screen. I'll give folks the number. Thank you. 888-789-9277. 888-789-9277 if you have any questions or comments or want folks online to help you. It's pretty simple to do, but if you're like me and not too technical on the internet, you might need help signing up for auto ship or finding the best discounts on there, or if you want to become a distributor. So the phone number is on the site. And there's over 400 products on there, and they're all the best. I mean, that's why I go out, I find the best. That's what I promote. InfoWarsHealth.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0. And then they've got now the Osteo FX in powder form, more concentrated. So you just put a scoop in water, bang that back. If you don't like, drinking the clear, white, pasty stuff. A lot of people like it. I don't particularly like it. I complained about it, and they said, guess what? We're already developing Longevity Beyond Osteo FX. So it's got even more stuff in it, and that's now brand new as of yesterday. at InfoWarsHealth.com, ladies and gentlemen. And all your purchases make the broadcast possible. Okay, that's enough. I'm going to take calls just all the way with news until our guest joins us. Let's go to them without further ado. Jim in Texas, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, love your show. Going to get right to the point. You were mentioning about pet peeves, so I figured I'd call in and let you know one of mine. First of all, don't censor your rants, because what your rants actually are, Alex, is emotional analysis, which all of us need to have because we don't have the expertise of sifting through all this information like you do, okay? It annoys me when you censor yourself in the middle of an informative, entertaining rant to go to some meathead who gets on there and doesn't even know he's on the air. Okay, that's annoying. So, quick little suggestion. Schedule the calls for half an hour, the first hour. Do all your news the first half hour. The news you don't get to, go back the second hour if you don't have a guest. But please, do not censor your rants. They're informative and they're entertaining.
No, I hear you. The rants are painful for me, though. I mean, when I'm up there freaking out and really trying to illustrate how corrupt the tyranny is, it's like a person in a cage being lowered into the water who knows they're going to drown. I mean, I know how real this is. I know my life's in danger. I know this isn't a game. And the most annoying question I get is, do you really believe all of this? And then people will get mad at me when I go, no, I don't believe it. Okay, it's all made up. The world's great, blah, blah, blah. You're being sarcastic. Of course I believe what I'm saying. And they go, well, is it an act? Well, I mean, that's like saying if I go to a football game and get excited about my team scoring, is it an act? I mean, I'm letting myself be emotional, so it isn't an act, but it is an act. But I've come to the realization is that I'm actually not in control anymore of myself. And I've realized that I've gotten more and more angry and more reckless as well, just out on the street and things with bureaucrats, police, you name it. I'm just getting to the point where it's all just a fraud, and I have trouble playing along with their fraud. When a cop pulls me over and says, mind if I search the vehicle? I'm just like, man, you really want your kids living in a total tyranny? Our kids have nothing to do with it. Well, cops didn't used to do this in America. I was brought up, this is done in tyrannies. You know, how would you like it if I asked to search your car? Get out of the vehicle. You know, it's just a bad nightmare. We know where this leads. We know where this is going. And that's why I'm freaking out. I appreciate your call, Jim. I'll be honest with you. I look at my innocent children. They were reading some children's comedy book, my 10-year-old son was, about a bad-behaved hippopotamus this morning, and he was reading passages from it. And my 5-year-old, my 9-year-old were just giggling and rolling around on the ground. And it was like painful how good they are. It was painful how innocent they are. It was painful how corrupt the world is. And then I started hearing that thing about, oh, I don't want to bring children into the world. And I'm always like, we've got to fight. We've got to bring them into the world since we're good people. And that's the experience. And our ancestors kept having kids even though it was bad. And that's true. We have more of a responsibility to have the children and then fight for them. Because I notice if you don't have the kids, you tend, on average, to not fight as hard for freedom. And again, that's an overgeneralization, but people are like, I just take care of myself, so what? Once you have those children, or at least empathize with nieces or nephews, people you care about, it's good to have some family, not even so much even children, so that you've got skin in the game, because it's easy as a man or a woman to just go, oh, the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket, nothing's going to change it, I'm going to just go eat, drink, and be merry. Or I'll just become corrupt and sell people out. And, you know, people have been playing dirty with me. I'll play dirty with them and see how they like it. But civilization, everything good, is based in not selling out because everybody else did. But it's not enough to just be good and hardworking and put up with the corruption. You've got to not sell out and not be corrupt and try to be as moral as you can. And then not beat yourself up when you make mistakes. See, good people are always beating themselves up. Evil aren't. You know you're good. You know you love God and justice. Move forward. But at the same time, wage war on corrupt people. Do whatever you have to. And that's what's fulfilling in life. And I need to get out more on the street. I really do. I need to go to the urban warfare drills again. I need to go out and go up to police and say, I'd like to search your vehicle, to show them freak out and go, well, you want to search mine without a warrant? I need to do all the things. I've got thousands of plans. All of them will work. The problem is I can't manifest it all, and I don't have enough money to hire enough people and then enough people to train so they understand so we can carry this out. I know how to beat the New World Order. You do as well, a lot of you. It's historical. It's an understanding. And to have the right stuff and to know the enemy's plans, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. To just see people programmed and under globalist control and thinking they're winning, going along with a system designed to irrevocably wreck human society as an exit. All the literature of the establishment is they're going to build a technological plandopolis with a bunch of control freaks running around, backed up by drones and robots, and they're going to break up our families and persecute us and stomp on our face with a black boot forever. The small amounts of us that are basically left to be toyed with and messed with and tortured forever. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We are turning the world over to, look, Ray Kurzweil said he doesn't believe in God yet, that he's going to become God merging with the machines. Let me take that statement. Even if you don't believe in God and don't believe in the devil, the establishment is trying to become the devil. They act just like the biblical devil, the devil of every culture. They do the same thing. There's a reason we've heard of this before. And they want to be the devil. Ray Kurzweil doesn't believe in God yet. He's going to become God? No, he's going to become the devil if he can. It's a race to become the devil. It's a race to build a godlike structure for these psychopaths to basically become God in their own words. It is madness, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm staring at them. I know their mind. I know their taste. I can see them. And I'm sitting here in the middle of a horror movie, ladies and gentlemen. I know right down the street they're killing people for their organs. I know people they've killed for their organs here in Austin. Nobody's going to prosecute them. They got foster kids all over the country right now, feeding them pesticides and drugs, testing them at facilities. They're going to kill them and then cut their bodies up when they're done. And nobody's going to help them. You're not going to help them. We're all going to hell, man, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Nazi Germany is nothing compared to what's going on now. It's going on everywhere, and it's creeping around behind the scenes, and evil is just metastasizing. I said I'd take your calls. See, I can't do it. This is another scientific test. I am not in control. Let's talk to Merrill in California. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex, good to talk to you. Listen, you were talking earlier about organs, government cropping our organs. I read an article this week on Facebook that was floating around, and they said that there were 1,000 internment camps, FEMA camps, whatever you want to call them. They change their name every time, once everybody wakes up about it, they change the name, and then they say, oh, no, we don't have none of that.
It's the Emergency Centers Establishment Act, and they also hide it under, the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp program. But, yeah, they're building them all over the place.
Right. Well, the article said this week that there were 1,000 of those internment camps in the United States, and Obama had recently purchased 30,000 guillotines.
Yeah, that's an urban legend. That's an urban legend that's racing through everything right now. And then people listening on the inside know that's not true, and it discredits things. And I'm not mad that you brought it up. I'm glad you brought it up. But that's an obsession from movies in the 80s where the Antichrist is going to cut people's heads off. And I'm sure governments do stuff like that. They'll hire a whole group to go into an African country, a neighboring African group, to kill everybody with machetes and chop their heads off. They've got Al-Qaeda chopping people's heads off all over Syria and all over Egypt right now with video of it. But none of the Christian groups will hardly talk about it. They just talk about guillotines that fell out of a truck, and it's always a different town, different city. And it may have a root in reality somewhere, but there's all the proven real stuff that is going on. I mean, they don't have to chop your head off with a guillotine. They chop your intellect out with hydrofluorosilicic acid.
Here's my theory behind this. If they chop your head off, Alex, they can stick pipes down in your throat and keep you alive until your organs are cropped.
Well, that is a big part of it, but look, they have mobile execution vans, dozens of them in every Chinese city. And they'll just on the spot, if they need somebody, just kidnap them, cut their organs out on the spot. This is on record, by the way. And people from the U.S. fly into Japan and China because they ship them over to Japan. It's a few hours and do the surgeries there. So, I mean, that stuff is going on, but they just put you under, then keep you alive, and then they harvest everything. And then they take the heart last. I appreciate you calling in. But no one talks about what's real. No one talks about Pepsi with fetal tissue in it. It's a fact. And yeah, there's the Daily Mail, China's high-tech death van, where criminals are executed and then their organs are sold on black market. Look, even the media goes with their criminals. I mean, here in the U.S., there they don't care. They just kill you outright. They do organ harvesting at sports stadiums for everybody as well. You can pull that up if you want to see it. Just the public's so naive. Let's go to Peter in Florida. You're on the air, Peter. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, Alex?
Good, brother.
Just going on about what you're saying, that becoming the change with whatever skill you have. I'm an artist here in Miami, and I just did a video with We Are Change, and Luke Rukowski just posted it up on YouTube. You guys check it out. So what I do is I go to these comic book conventions, and I do artwork dealing with like 9/11 and the TSA and drones and all that kind of stuff, and I put it out in a way that is favorable, or it's aesthetically similar to a lot of the other pop culture stuff, like when you post the reviews of the different movies and stuff. I sell out of them. They're super popular. We have conversations from everything from the police state to economics at a comic book convention, showing how,
Yeah, what we have to do is we have to hijack the culture of evil and then infuse life into it, hijack their images, which is totally legal and lawful as long as it's a parody of it, and hijack their movies, hijack their TV shows, and use their shows to show you the programming. But also use good art that comes out of the establishment to praise that. And that's one reason you're seeing a little bit of positive stuff out there now, is because Hollywood can't sell pure negativity. People want wholesome good stuff. They want the Bible on Discovery Channel or History Channel. They want something like Superman that's pro-father, pro-family, anti-tyranny, anti-eugenics. People hunger for liberty. And so there's a dichotomy. That's what the globalists say they want to get rid of. The globalists say they want to get rid of the real free market and only have a centralized group, because they're always getting beaten by the free market by the choices you make, like organic. Nobody could get organic 20 years ago. Now it's supplanting all the poison garbage and getting cheaper because more people are coming into the market, and we're outproducing them. So they're getting angry. So God bless you. Tell us the name of the video.
Yeah, it's on We Are Change. It's libertarian artist, art imitating life. It shows people right there buying this giant poster that I put out, really popular. It's a Captain America head, a vintage-looking one, and underneath it, it just says 9/11 was an inside job. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but people love it.
Fantastic. Listen, send us one. Send us your art. We might hang it up in the new studios we're building. Yeah, We Are Change doing an amazing job. One of the most things I'm most proud of is when Luke was a lone activist in New York and was being censored, I gave him a platform because I knew he was a leader and built him up, and then We Are Change came out of it. And then it's important for all these other groups, though, to then refeed promotion back into those that brought you to the dance. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Couple program notes. You know, when I tell you we got a big guest coming on, about 95% of the time it tends to happen. For me personally, this guest that we got contacted through over some tyrannical abuses they went through, for me it's about as big a guest as you can get on, because the person's such an icon and is also so old. It's kind of like Kurt Vonnegut. I learned was a listener, had a chance to talk to him a couple times. He sent me some of his own art, personalized. And he said, oh, I'm too old. Nobody wants to hear from me, but I appreciate your work. And I'm like, Mr. Vonnegut, please. And he goes, no, listen, I respect what you're doing. I'm done. And then like a month later, saw him do his last university speech at his alma mater. And he said, I will never be heard from again. Goodbye. And then 6 months later, fell down, hit his head in New York, and was dead. And I mean, I've read like almost all of Kurt Vonnegut's books. I was reading those when I was a teenager. My parents were big fans, so they were laying around. It's just amazing satire, and so much of it has come true. I've even read, I bought a book of his essays that were in newspapers and magazines, short stories he wrote. Really good stuff. Like he wrote stuff about like astronauts finally go to space. He wrote this like at the end of World War II, and it's actually where all the ghosts are at. It's like hell, so everybody, he wrote a lot of cool stuff. And it's just like, I never got Kurt Vonnegut on the air. And this person is like the living John Wayne. But then they wanted to come on with their lawyer. And then the lawyer's like, well, I can't do it because I'm going out of town for a week. And then it's all like, lawyers, man, they get in the way of everything. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't, because the person was going to come on about corruption, too. It wasn't just going to be a famous person on. So it's tailor-made to wake people up. But we'll see what happens. By the way, we have Sergeant Biggs popping in. I'm going to go into overdrive today for about 20 minutes with him. He wants to come on and talk about the cover-up of his buddy Michael Hastings. So we're going to be looking at all of that. And I'm not bragging about Kurt Vonnegut. It's just like I have a framed Kurt Vonnegut, 4 Alex, 2 Alex lithograph print he did, signed by him of an empty birdcage. The Libertà symbol of universal freedom. And he's dead now. But at least I got to talk to him. It's kind of like, hey, I got to know Charlton Heston a little bit. Well, people know that's true because there's a couple interviews there. But it isn't about I knew Charlton Heston. It was what a good human he was. And it's just something about talking to people when they're really old and they're still all there, that then they're gone forever. Then they're gone forever. I'm going to go to break and come back, and then we're going to try it again for 30 minutes, call straight. I took a couple. When I come back, I'm going to just take call after call after call, 800-259-9231. You hear a caller hang up, I'm going to go to you. Just coming up, and then I'm going to get into the whole Zimmerman thing. I wasn't ever on the fence because the witness is saying that Trayvon attacked him, but I thought Zimmerman was stupid to go following a guy around with a gun. I mean, I'd probably get mad. What are you doing following me around with a gun? But you look at Trayvon's past and being sent, to his father and the trouble he was in and the gangster photos out there and the media showing the 12-year-old kid, not the 17-year-old, kid or whatever. And then the Justice Department pressuring the police to, go after Zimmerman and all this stuff. They're trying to set Zimmerman up. And that's an injustice. And now the judge is slapping him around and stuff. And, I mean, it's just unprecedented what's going on. And now they're talking about child abuse to go after Zimmerman, get him on something and lesser charge of manslaughter so they can get him on that. I mean, it is just incredible. And NPR this morning was, calling him a racist, period. I mean, they want to stir up total racial hatred in this country. Sometimes you look at somebody and then you just get an idea in your head. I look at the judge in the Trayvon Martin Zimmerman case, and I just imagine like stink, the smell of a public bathroom. I don't know. I was just looking at her, and I was watching a video of her during the break before last, and it's just like, that overwhelming drive to not want to be around somebody. And it's not that she's an older woman, a little bit overweight. I don't care how she looks. It's like the spirit of her, the weak power trip. What do you call somebody that finishes last at the bottom of their law school classes? You call them your honor. Your honor. These people aren't honorable. They're dishonorable. We're going to be talking about that. Judge in Zimmerman case pressured by Obama administration. Bizarre outburst against Zimmerman suggests prejudice. That's right, judicial prejudice. There's many types of prejudice, folks, not just about race or religion or region. Real prejudice is usually economic. Where the bankers are above the law and don't pay taxes, stuff like that. And then lobby to have your taxes raised. Real prejudice. That's why they want to divert you all day with what color somebody's skin is until racist groups are coming after you and you have to respond to them racially. They force you into this. And they play all different angles, all different sides of it. It is just unbelievable. Let's go to phone calls, and then I'll get into all that news. Nick, in Australia, the land down under. You got some big bunny rabbits over there, buddy.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Good, sir. Welcome. Thank you for holding.
No worries. I just really wanted to quickly talk about, I guess, the things from an education point of view for listeners and trying to, I suppose, open people's eyes up. You've been touching on it a lot lately, referring to the police and other government agencies as organised crime. Really good article that's worth reading by Charles Tilley. War making and state making is organised crime. I think it really sums it up and just helps people better.
Yeah, I think I've read references out of that book. What's the name again?
it's war making and state making as organized crime. It's just a scholarly article. It's not actually a book.
That's why I thought I'd read that. Yeah, I've read it.
Yeah.
War making and state making. Yeah, that's why I was saying I'd read excerpts.
I guess the point I'm really trying to make is just, I suppose I try to open as many people's eyes as possible, but people are reluctant to think of things as the conspiracy theory type of stuff, so I try to...
Well, it's basically like telling a kid, don't worry, there's no bad men in the world. You're lying to them. The public believes in Santa Claus but doesn't believe in tyranny when it's the history of the world. And they're like, huh, you're saying there's powerful groups that do bad things? Oh, it's so ridiculous. I mean, it's like saying, this guy says the sun came up. Tell me another one. Oh, man, that's crazy.
So I guess another couple of really good websites, one I found just really sums up the history of the Rothschild family. It's a really good one for people that, I guess, aren't as educated and just people that are interested in history. If they read this, there's a lot of historical facts that are in there.
Sure, what's the site?
It's called IamTheWitness.com, and it's just it's got the French connection and the history of the House of Rothschild, and it sort of starts probably at the very beginning. I don't know.
Very, very, very interesting. All right, well, thank you so much for that call from Australia, and we're going to go to, when we come back from break, we're going to go to Scott, Will, Dave, Shane, and others. Uncensored, live. We're not screening your phone calls. And I like these callers. They're just getting right to their point. And the true diversity of it is absolutely spectacular. So we will come right back after this quick breaky, and we will go to Pepsi, cancer, and Trayvon Exet. Because if you want to tell us what you want to talk about, you know, it gives us an idea, but you don't need to. A lot of times people tell us one thing, thinking they'll get on air if it's about that, when we just go to the calls in the order they're received. 800-259-9231. Since they're going to bring that up, we actually bring up the article from last week about Pepsi and others having massive carcinogens in them that they're not going to take out for a while. They're just saying, you know, it's good for you. It's good to die. It's good to... All right, here's what's going on. We're now into hour number 2. I'm going to continue with phone calls and the grab bag, wild card, different issues you raise. Then I'm going to get into the Zimmerman case because, you know, I've not talked about this as much as other shows. It's a very hot topic. Articles we write about it get, you know, 7,000 comments instead of 500. Articles we write about it get, some of them, 1 million readers instead of our average article getting 20,000 readers. I mean, it's crazy. And Watson's been following it. And so is the rest of my crew, just because now it's obvious they're trying to railroad Zimmerman. And the idiots out there that get so racially programmed that, because when I've covered this, I get emails, I get calls from white liberals, black folks, you name it, going, you must be a racist. You know, that crackerhead, you know, is an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Look, Zimmerman, they had a bunch of break-ins in the area. And, you know, you see a young guy with a hood on nowadays. People get paranoid. And I wouldn't have followed him around with a gun. And it was stupid. He was negligent. But they're now coming after him for child abuse, folks. They're now trying to lessen the charge down to manslaughter because it's clear that there's all these witnesses that he was on top of him, beating him, and you know, screaming the N-word at Zimmerman. And then the media, Zimmerman looks really Asian to me, not even so much Hispanic. But he is, you know, his dad's white, as you call it. And my whole issue is, I mean, I've really started to follow it and look at it, and this is crazy. The police chief says we were basically ordered to arrest him and you know, set him up. The police chief's out admitting that, left over it, because he had a conscience. We're now got all these witnesses that Trayvon jumped on top of him, and the judge is excoriating him and trying to tell him what to do versus his lawyers. That's a mistrial, folks. When the judge gets involved with the client and their lawyers, and the judge acts like this, this is a mistrial. This is a miscarriage of judgeship. And all the lawyers are saying, wow, we've never seen this before. Well, that's because I've done a little bit of studying just the basic law, and the judge has prejudiced the case, is what it's called. And it's a mistrial right there. You hear about mistrials all the time? It's because they allow in evidence that isn't true or was inadmissible, or the prosecutor goes too far and makes something up or might be made up. I mean, it's a done deal. And now this judge is saying, hey, we can go to manslaughter now because, you know, it's going to be hard to get the murder. It's just unbelievable. This is unbelievable that they want to put him in jail, and you've got the Justice Department on record running around. Well, I said I'd cover at the bottom of the hour. I've got like 3 stacks of news. I want to go over it systematically and get all the facts exactly straight. But they are railroading this guy. It turns out his best friend is black. It turns out, you know, a bunch of his family are Hispanic and on the police force. And they call him Jorge. And notice the media, NPR this morning, said, our reporter John Bound wrote it down when he heard it this morning. They said, George Zimmerman is a racist. Sure, he has a Hispanic mother, but he's a white Hispanic. It's like, well, he's white, so he's bad. And there's all these racial murders of whites where, you know, 11-year-old kid, a black lady grabs him for no reason and ties him up and kills him with a blowtorch over an hour, burning his eyeballs out. And that's not racial attack. Or black guys drag a white bum to death and it doesn't even make the news, but a black guy gets drugged to death and it's international news and all this stuff. And again, it's all about keeping blacks and Hispanics and others in a racial paradigm with the Democratic Party, where that's the group that represents them. You see, before, the Democratic Party represented the racist sections of the South, and that was it, and the Ku Klux Klan. The Ku Klux Klan had, what was it, 300,000 Klansmen march. There's famous photos in the 20s to D.C. I mean, Senator Byrd was elected as a Grand Dragon. So they looked at the demographics. They always had done things racially. So they looked at the demographics, and they said, okay, well, now we'll just bring in all these other groups, make them racial. We'll even have the Ford Foundation fund them and call it Raza, which means the race. And you look at these black groups, these Hispanic groups, they are Hispanic and black Ku Klux Klan. It is the exact same tribal. All that Klan means is a tribal group. I saw articles where they're talking about taking references to Scottish clans out in textbooks because people might think it's racist. Well, that just means the tribal groups of Scots, that then the Ku Klux Klan use that term. It just shows how dumb people are. Like, words scare them, like the word homosexual. If you use it, you get arrested in England. I'm not joking. BBC reporters have been arrested. Look it up, Robin Page. My point here is that they want you only to identify with racial issues and that type of discrimination, or religious, so they can play us off and infight us, while the real discrimination is economic. Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Google, Apple, General Electric pay 0 tax in most cases. Google brought some of the money back in the U.S. It was like, what, 3% last year? Folks, the average business isn't even allowed to take those loopholes. You'll be arrested. The average business pays 40% federal tax, pays all the corporate tax. I've had other lawyers and accountants look at it. I'm paying, of any so-called money we keep, which, well, I've decided just not ever keep any. I'll just totally just throw everything at the New World Order just because I want to defeat them anyways. That the way they've got it all actuaried out now, I pay over 70% taxes one way or another. Look at France. Some people pay 100% now. People won't believe it. Type in France now pays 100%. It's NBC News. 100%. 100. But then the socialists that came out are all exempt and have Swiss bank accounts. It's a mafia. You're like, why would they take 100? Because, well, I mean, what's a gangster that robs your house going to take? They'll take everything if they can get it in their van. How much are you going to take? I'll take everything. Take everything, including your life. Boom. And why do you do that? Because they like to kill people. Well, the smarter gangsters run the government. And they sit back, folks. Yeah, there it is. French tax soars over 100%. That's Forbes. I guess NBC said to 100. I guess it's over 100. Sorry, it's worse than I said. I mean, you say something like 100% tax and it doesn't sound real. It was 80, by the way, before the socialists got in. The conservatives only want 80% tax. And then everybody works for the government or select corporations that are exempt. So that's real discrimination. By the way, I have an article here. I'm going to get to this. I said I'd go to your calls. I'm going to get to this when I get to the news. 60+% of abortions in Florida are of blacks and Hispanics. And it's the same similar numbers. I have the numbers on Texas today. For whatever reason, this stuff got stuck in my stack. I'm glad the guys printed it. You're not going to have black folks waving Skittles around. About 52% of their people never seeing outside their mother's womb. I've actually before had groups of racist blacks around me when I'm doing a report one time in East Austin. And actually, most of the folks were actually listening, but a few guys were saying, oh, look, it's Alex and his cracker ass was the term. I was like, what about abortion? And they're just laughing, going, oh, you know you're racist, blue-eyed devil. I was like, okay. So, and then they're like, well, there are too many people. I need to get mine. I mean, that was the quote to me. And it's just like, so the establishment's like, yeah, go ahead, just kill everybody. See, they don't care. But it's the same. White people, black people, whatever. Everybody's being dumbed down. Everybody's being just turned into these crazy people that like are in competition with each other, but then won't stand up together against tyranny, which is a smart thing to do. That's a quote of what I was told. Another time, tell you how long ago this was, I was at a McDonald's meeting some people, and I was actually eating McDonald's. This was like 12 years ago, down on the drag off Guadalupe Street at that McDonald's. I'm outside waiting for a reporter. There was a reporter to come meet me. The Daily Texan. In fact, I think actually they just got there, and the Daily Texan, it was a girl, was there. See, I talk about a story, and then it all starts coming back. And these two black guys walked by, and they looked, intelligent and well kept and everything, which makes it even sadder that people are this. So when you see some Klan guy going, you're like, oh, that's just an idiot. These guys look pretty smart and well dressed and everything, and they looked over and they said, you blue-eyed devil, we're going to get you. And I went, excuse me. I said, I want everybody to have a future. And they're like, yeah, right, racist. So see, now I've already gone off on the Trayvon Martin thing. I'm going to take a bunch of calls, then I'll get into this news and all the rest of it. It's just sick. I want those guys to have a future and have freedom. I don't want black people drinking sodium fluoride. I don't want white people, anybody else. I look at children. When I'm out at a restaurant and I see little black kids or white kids or mixed kids or whatever kids, and I think those are humans I want to have a future. And when a little kid looks in my eyes who hasn't been taught tribalism and racism yet, they're sweet little children with innocent souls, and it hurts me because I want them to have freedom, and I don't want them to be destroyed. And I want to go over and tell their parents, and I do it now. To the point of my wife, God bless her, she goes, do you ever stop? I'll go over and say, hi, how's your meal going? They're like, what, are you the maitre d'? I'm like, no, I know you have children. Are you vaccinating them? Because you ought to read the insert. Usually people are thankful just for the human interaction. And I'm hurt by that. Not in a guilty white way, being called a white devil, blue-eyed devil, but that I can see the whole programming, the whole thing, from start to finish where it's all going. Hey, blacks, everybody, why don't you organize and stop the abortions? You won't do that. What about those little kids getting chopped up, huh? You're not going to help them, are you? Benny hires 1 million control freaks, and the tyranny starts to roll. Dave Mustaine bringing us in. Shout out to Dave. He told me he was listening today. Sent me a text earlier, so I'm glad that he came up in the lineup with the computer to play a little Megadeth vintage for you here. Just like the Pied Piper. Let the rats loose. Yeah, that was a false flag. You know that, right? Yeah, the Pied Piper released the Al-Qaeda forces, the rats. So there could be a symphony of destruction. He acting like a robot.
Acting like a robot.
Let's go ahead and go to Scott in Connecticut. Thanks for holding, Scott. You're on the air worldwide.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
It's an honor speaking to you. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, listen, I just wanted to say thanks for telling me about Pepsi. I've been angry ever since because I got cancer a couple of years ago. Now it's in remission. Prostate cancer. And I know everybody out there, you had an article by Paul Watson, and everybody's afraid to say, I don't even know how I got it. Nobody knows why we got this prostate cancer.
Well, that's because they are bum rushing us with hundreds of deadly chemicals. Actually, it's thousands, but that sounds like an exaggeration. On average, they put over 200 from the studies we've seen. We've covered this in Plate Newscast. Chemicals in the water, toxic waste they'd have to pay to dump. You pay, calling it a medical additive, forced medicating with the fluoride, mercury, lead, arsenic, barium, the list goes on. And yeah, here it is, ABC News. Group finds carcinogen in Pepsi products. This was actually in Natural News and stuff before it was there. This wouldn't even be in the Associated Press and ABC News if alternative media didn't see the reports from the groups and then force them to cover it. See, that's why they hate our guts, is we force this stuff out. But continuing, environmental group finds carcinogen in Pepsi, and Pepsi says they might get it out next year, maybe never. I mean, and what they found, it was 7 times deadly levels. But, I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, you know, nobody should discuss why cancer in children's up over 10,000% on average, or why other adult cancers are up on average over 3,000%, or why lung cancer, it was up 7-fold in women. ABC News, I saw that like a decade ago, that even though smoking went down, lung cancer exploded in North American women. But let's not discuss why everybody's dying. Come on, man, just don't you want to... I mean, sure, the New World Order brags in books, they're doing it on purpose, but they're killing you slowly and softly. What's wrong with that? And sucking all the money out of you in the medical system, what's wrong with that?
All I can say is thank you. I got my PatriotSupply.com seeds cooking, growing away right in front of me.
Well, you're awesome. And, listen, let me ask you a question. What type of cancer did you have?
Prostate cancer, and it's in remission, they say, you know, $90,000 later, you know, and then they kicked me off the insurance plan. And so prostate cancer, they said, you know? Yeah, well, more than this chemical in the Pepsi that's linked to that as well, as you mentioned, it's the bisphenol A is a tumor grower. And so if we wonder why we lead the world in breast cancer, I mean, by thousands of percentile, folks, you look it up, U.S. leads the world in breast cancer, and it's only increasing. They're saying half of American women by 2020 will have it or have had it. And then it only goes up from there. And they're saying 40% of Brits by 2020 will have some form of cancer. I mean, they're killing it. And soon it'll be everybody's got it, except all the elite. They'll be behind robots and troops going, killed you. I appreciate your call. God bless you. And again, that's why I get so upset, folks, is it's just like, I know this is all real. I know it's their plan. They've written books how they're doing it. And I got to drive home through just 50 police cars and checkpoints and, you know, just cops everywhere and just bugging their eyes out at me. Because, of course, they work for a government that's murdering everybody and stealing organs and everything else. And they're trying to get the cops to be even worse. They're trying to make them be crazy thugs. They're trying to get them to be out of control. And they're having trouble, but they're trying. I mean, look, you ask how far the tyrants will go, as far as you let them. Thomas Jefferson was asked, what is the level that tyrants will grow towards? And he said the exact level the public allows them to. It's like asking if you jump in a big pit of starving piranhas with cuts all over you. Well, how much will the piranhas eat? They'll eat every scrap of meat off your bones. They'll eat your joints. And you're like, but the piranha... And they're like, but piranhas don't exist. And it's like, there's no New World Order. There's no corrupt bad groups. They're not doing the NSA not spying on me. There's no and you're like, I'm just going to go along with it. Dude, it would be nice to me. Like the women that see coyotes in public parks and lay down crying. The coyote goes, well, I better eat this then. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to continue with your phone calls right now, 800-259-9231. By the way, it's in at InfoWarsHealth.com first.
We have Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0, the ultimate multivitamin mineral complex, citrus peach fusion with a 8,000 total ORAC per serving score. Nothing's got that. 90 essential minerals, vitamins, nutrients, trace elements, and even more. Essential cofactors, amino acids, probiotics, prebiotics, antioxidants, trace minerals, whole foods. It is there. It is available, ladies and gentlemen, right now at InfoWarsHealth.com. And we'll punch that site up for people. But you can also continue to get the old Beyond Tangy Tangerine, which most of it is organic, but it's so hard with hundreds of ingredients to get them all certified. So it's not certified organic, non-GMO. Oh, this is certified non-GMO as well, not just organic. So it has both. But you can still get the old Beyond Tangy Tangerine complete multivitamin mineral complex at InfoWarsHealth.com. There's also a phone number there on the site at InfoWars Health for anybody that wants to call it and be able to get any of their questions answered. The phone number is 888-789-9277, 888-789-9277. And your purchase of the 400-plus longevity products that are available for everything you can imagine, the very best is what they've developed, and the companies they've bought as well. When they like something, they go out and buy it. It's a big company, folks. Been around for 16 years, but the incarnation before that, a decade or more, so 20-something years. The point is that it's all there at InfoWarsHealth.com. You can sign up there on InfoWarsHealth.com and get the very lowest prices and free shipping when you sign up for AutoShip. You can call that number and have all your questions answered. InfoWarsHealth.com. Or call the toll-free number there on the site, or pay $10 and become a member and a distributor and get big discounts once you become a member and gotten your member number, or just buy it straight off the site. Again, InfoWarsHealth.com or InfoWarsTeam.com to learn more about becoming a full-fledged distributor and the different systems involved there. Lastly, it's also important to filter your water and not drink Pepsi. And by the way, Coke's got a lot of bad stuff in it as well. Notice Pepsi's mainly marketed to minorities and poor people. And if you look at who heads up Pepsi, it's top Bilderberg people. It's not a mistake they put fetal cells in the flavoring. It's not a mistake it's got all these carcinogens. It's not a mistake that all this is going on. It's important to filter your water, and I've researched the very best gravity-fed filter for my home and my RV when I'm on the road. And it is the ProPure system, 10% off with promo code WATER. We've got all their systems, the side-by-side comparisons, InfoWarsStore.com. Check out the ProPure systems today. And if you've already got one and you want to help your family, friends, neighbors, your business, your office, buy one. Bring it into the office, even if you're not the owner or the manager. Say, hey, can I put one of these great filters that does tens of thousands of gallons without replacing the Pro One filters that take out the fluoride, you name it? And give that gift, and then support this broadcast as well. We could not be doing this without all of you. But that's the type of do-gooding that needs to be done. You've got kids that have moved off and got their own kids. Are your grandkids drinking tap water? Are they drinking most bottled water? Is city water with fluoride and everything in it? It's a big joke. They just ionize it a little bit to get the bad smell out of it. You need to be drinking water you filter that you know. Even if you've got well water. I'm on a well water and rainwater collection. I still run it through a ProPure. And then for cooking, we've got reverse osmosis. But you need the good minerals to still come through. I'm done pitching it. ProPure, the Pro One filters, all of it. InfoWarsStore.com, or you can call 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And please support our local AM and FM affiliates. Spread the word about their local sponsors. Become a sponsor and spread the word about the show, however you're listening. Okay, let's go to your calls. Dave in Nevada, you're on the radio. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call, Alex. First-time caller, long-time listener. Great to speak with you. I'd like a couple of points here, please, if I may. I'd like to encourage everybody out to start looking into some ham radios for emergency communications when cell towers go down. When the internet goes down, we got to have a way to communicate. You can get them on Amazon, handhelds for under $40. Next thing, it's a real shame. I had an opinion the other day, Alex, that it's a shame that your show is not translated into Spanish. Although I don't speak Spanish, I think it'd be major if the Hispanic community could get your message.
I hear you. Look, people are constantly asking us to do Spanish reports. I need to be able to hire like 3 people to be able to do that, even with a radio version or a TV version. It is absolutely what's needed with 700+ million people worldwide, that Spanish is their primary language. And because our main goal is not just making money, our main goal is reaching people, period. You know, that's why most radio shows have a target audience, or they have a target group or a target country. We're targeting the world. I mean, this is the real voice of liberty, the real voice of America, the real voice of the republic, in my view. And that's what we're doing. And that's why I pay to be on WWCR, what is it, to like 8 hours a day, 100,000 watts worldwide. Even though it doesn't really bring the capital back in to pay for itself, I pay to be on there because I get letters from African, kids at a missionary school, orphans, and kids in China, because English is the world language. A lot of people don't speak it, but if there's one language the most do, it's English. They estimate there's 3 billion people plus that have decent English. 4+ billion, the last numbers I saw, that have some, pidgin English. So, yes, we need to reach those 700 to 800 million people that speak Spanish and also cover those type of issues. It's just that right now, that's why I just did like a 4-minute plug. I hardly ever even plug. I am expending more money than I'm bringing in. I'm spending backup capital that we had because I thought, well, we better have some backup capital around here, in case something ever bad happens. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to wait for that to happen. I'm going all out, everything. And so I hear you. We need to do Spanish. God bless you, Dave. I appreciate your call. We use a ham radio with these cell phone calls, too. I can barely hear them sometimes, but I swear the phones are getting worse. Let's go to Will in Texas. You're on the air, Will.
Hello, Alex Jones.
Hey, buddy.
Pleasure to speak to you, man. 13-year listener. I'm calling today to share something with you and the listeners. My partner and I just published an open-source invention. It's called Robot Gardener, and it's an open-source raised bed beyond organic garden that you can interface with over your phone or computer, and even automate if you want. And it's open source. It's on robotgardener.com. You can find us on Facebook, Google+, Instructables. Build it yourself and have healthy food in your backyard conveniently.
And then a smartphone does it for you?
Yes, sir. If you connect with a static IP, you can do it over your smartphone. But yeah, we want people to be healthy and independent.
It sends a robot out to do the gardening?
It's actually a unit. It's a garden unit, and it has sensors and response mechanisms, so we just call it Robot Garden.
Sounds pretty interesting. I personally myself like to dig and plant the plants myself, and that's kind of the fun. But I guess, is that for if you're out of town or something and the robot does it?
Exactly. Right. Most people have these 21st century lifestyles, and they're never home to take care of their garden, so this way it doesn't die whenever you're on the other side of the world. You can just get on your device and interface with it and monitor it and everything.
And then your smart meter, it can interface with it and transmit all the data to the NSA?
Well, I mean, we need to take responsibility for our technology in the future.
No, listen, I'm all about taking over technology. I agree with you. The way to not, you do this is not be involved in technology, then the global is totally dominated. We need to be involved in technology, but also involved in totally off-the-grid, independent systems. We should be multifaceted. I appreciate your call. Good to have you on board for 13 years. I'll definitely check that out. I'm trying to think here about a point I was going to make about the NSA. I was just thinking about how if you leak some of the private info of the giant sprawling government, they call it espionage and terrorism and say Snowden should be executed. But when they spy on you illegally, it's called keeping you safe. I mean, it's just so asinine. It's the same thing as pulling up to a cop and saying, hi, I'd like to search your vehicle. I don't recommend you do that yourself. You'll probably get taken to jail. How dare you? But how about we're like, how dare you want to search my car with no probable cause? See how whacked it's all gotten? How upside down it's all gotten? Let's go to Christopher in Tennessee. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, brother.
That threw me off. Anyway, I was calling. I had a couple points I wanted to talk to you about today, man. Main topic, obviously, is this whole Zimmerman thing. And it irks me that the powers that be are doing this. They've always done this. They've used this whole divide and conquer strategy to get us. And I think that the reason they're making such a big deal out of it now and doing everything that they're doing and pushing it as hard as they are is because, you know, they know we're winning. And so they've got to, you know, try to bring the people against each other even more so than they used to have to, you know?
No, exactly. And then the federal family will get involved in all our lives and militarize things to stop all the racial division. And then everybody gets hyper-racially aware, and they're like, oh, you don't like socialism? That's racist. You don't want to have an abortion? That's racist. You won't do what we say? That's racist. So it can just become a politically correct programming point when they're the ones literally throwing the gasoline on the fire. And again, Democratic Party ran the Klan, ran the South, and when they couldn't do that anymore and people had totally turned against it, they then became the race pimps of the so-called minorities that are really now the majority. And that's why I saw articles like the celebration in the news, you know, of the liberals, which are really just anti-human. Oh, thank God, less whites being born than are dying. And I remember in all my college classes, that's why I didn't keep going. I went 2 years. I was about to go to UT. Was at ACC for 2 years, just finding out what I wanted to do while I worked a part-time job. Really, I had 2 jobs. I appreciate your call, sir. And every class, it was always white people doing it. I'd walk in and it'd be anthropology class, it'd be sociology, it'd be archaeology, you know, 101. And it would be, white people are inherently bad. Thank God they'll all be bred with other people soon. Here is a picture of what they estimate by 2100, what will look like. A mixed person. This is the way to go. And it's like, it was like anti-white. I mean, everybody knows that's going on. And I'm sitting there and it's like, next up, guns are bad. White men are bad. All sex is rape. And I'd go in a algebra class because I wasn't good at math. That was my one problem. So I was like taking high school stuff again. My scores were so low. I'm like, I barely remembered this in high school. Now I'm trying to figure this out again. And it was like trigonometry too. And I had a black instructor, professor, lady who'd actually gone to Africa and tried to help people. And there wasn't any of that from her. She was like, it's so horrible. You've never seen anything like it. And she would actually talk about, you know, just the corruption of overall society. But I mean, every white professor I had, you would go to learn Texas history. You'd go take, because you have to take that in Texas. So I took it. And it was nothing but anti-American garbage. I mean, just totally, so you'll be absolutely guilty and do what they say so they can then sell you on their agenda. Had nothing to do, but boy, you want to get thrown out of the class. This has been in the news. You go, why do we abort most of the minorities? And the lip licking will start, because the real truth is the real Klan is not, you know, in little trailer parks. Or nothing wrong with trailer parks, you know what I mean, with no teeth or whatever. The real Klan is posing as liberals. And when you talk to a, quote, real liberal, I don't care if they're black or white, at the end of the day, they'll say there are too many people. There are too many of these unwanted kids. And I've had black people to my face, including a guy we flew down here to be interviewed for a film, and I don't even know what to do with it, a couple of years ago now. And we went out to dinner with him afterwards, and he was just like, no, there are too many black people. And I'm for abortion. And you know, the state doesn't really have a... And I'm just like, whoa, it's like this... You find out that the real beyond racism, the exterminism... But hey, Michael Jackson's out there telling black folks, you know, at his peak, get your Pepsi. And it's had the carcinogen in it the whole time. And it's so insane. It's so off the charts. It's so over the top that's why we may fail and fall, is because just the average person has no idea how they're under attack. And even if they did, they have so low views of themselves. I don't care who you are, black, white, doesn't matter, that they can't believe that they could fight it. You fight it, like Professor Griff said, he was at a hotel, didn't know the food was organic. They couldn't tell him. Here in Austin, he just pushed the food back and said, you know what, I just won't eat. And I've caught myself on the road or at restaurants just eating and giving my kids whatever. And me and my wife talked about this. We said, we're only going to certified organic restaurants now. We're going to take our food with us when we go on the road. And why wouldn't we? I'm a bad person. I know all this, and I sit there and feed my kids GMO, and not even a fast food place, but a restaurant, and then they act bad. Well, of course they act bad. The corn, the wheat, all of it has pesticide in it. And what does pesticide do? It acts as an amphetamine generally. I'm giving my kids poison. That's why I don't want you calling and telling me how great I am, folks. Because here's the deal. I'm weak. I know all this stuff, and I can't implement 1/10 of what I know. And I'm desperate, and I'm frustrated. And I'm like a mother. You know these famous cases of mothers where they've picked up a whole car off their kid, breaking world weightlifting records, and no one knows how they do it? It's because we have governors in our minds that hold us back so we don't hurt ourselves. But in an emergency, the governor's gone. And the mother may blow, you know, her hips and every vertebra in her back, but she's going to get that car off her child screaming for help. That's when the mother turns on the real instinct, or a father turns on the real instinct. And we culturally have to turn on that type of instinct and just tell ourselves, the feeling is repenting. And even if we don't believe in God, we should be on our knees crying in the middle of the night over this. I mean, it's a fact, the corn and stuff they feed us sterilizes and gives giant tumors to all the rats and rodents, guinea pigs. I mean, you can go look at the studies. Just type guinea pigs, rats, and GMO. I mean, they're killing us. And I deserve to be punched in the face. By the way, I don't like being punched in the face. I'm not into sadomasochism. I'm saying at a gut level, I need to be kicked in the butt to get moving. I do not need to be thanked by people. Okay? I mean, that's how much trouble we're in here, folks. We got to get this car up off of our culture. I mean, that means we got to give it all, and we got to charge through it and just, lift it up now or die trying. And you got to hate the enemy. I'm sorry. These people are scum, and your enemy want to murder you and your family. And I don't care what they do to me. I'm going to tell the truth. We're under total scientific attack, okay? It's going on. You know what's going on. And these people are our enemy. I'm going to go to some of your calls in the next segment. Then William F. Jasper will be with us about 40 minutes, and I'll continue with calls. And I'm going into the 4th hour with Staff Sergeant Biggs with updates, with his talk with the police and others who are suppressing the police report on Michael Hastings' car blowing up. And finally, local TV and newspapers are going, this is suspicious. And the government's saying, don't be conspiracy theorists, don't question us. What have governments said when they've been caught stealing political dissidents' organs in China and other places? They always call it a conspiracy theory, and then later it's just a fact. They want you to trust them. And it's time for that to stop. Our founders said, and common sense states, don't trust big, powerful, centralized groups. Keep it small, keep it on a short leash, or you're going to go on a leash. And now we're going on a leash, folks. We forgot what made this country great, not that we've been perfect. By the way, I just threw part of my lunch away that I do not know is organic. I am going to start today just religiously not eating anything that's not organic. I was talking to a guy yesterday who started only eating at a Mexican food restaurant by his house near downtown for a few months, and he lost 50 pounds because it's all certified organic. And it's open morning, lunch, and dinner. He just picks his food up. He said, just because it's easy, I'll eat nothing but this. And he said a lot of it's, tasty Mexican food, fattening. And he's lost 50 pounds. 50 pounds. And he said other people are doing it. I talked to engineers and folks that go to Eastern Europe where they don't have any GMO. I mean, you can go smoke cigarettes, get drunk every night, eat giant roast. Everybody just loses weight. That's what happens to the rats. When you eat GMO, they're all poisoned. Your body puts on fat trying to protect itself. That's when you don't even drink enough water, you'll get puffy. As your body starts trying to protect the cells by saving whatever water it's got. Look at some of the news here. I've got to start getting to this news. Look at this. Lawmaker demands the National Guard patrol the streets of Chicago to stop gun violence. See how that works? Oh, there's never going to be troops on the streets. No, just a permanent presence if they have their way. Look at these type of headlines. You got to love some of these headlines. They're going to have illegal aliens, basically, run the polling places in California. It said per polling place can have 5 non-citizens run it. Why not? You got the non-citizens voting. Absolutely out of control. Yeah, and we have that article up on Infowars.com with the lawmaker calling for it if you want to see that. The surviving brother of the patsies of the Boston bombing has pled not guilty. But we never hear what he actually was saying he's not guilty. But we know they yelled. The brothers yelled at the media and the police, we didn't do it, we didn't do it. Witnesses said that. They've killed a bunch of the witnesses, FBI agents, friends that knew them. The FBI goes to their house and shoots them in the top of the head, and it turns out the person did nothing. I mean, they're killing people. It was clearly a drill. The drill's confirmed. The older brother was on the CIA payroll. That's all come out. And now he comes in with his hands in cast. Lord knows what they've been doing to him. And says, not guilty. So the vestige of the court system, remember they shot the boat up, said he shot him, turned out he didn't. They were trying to kill him. But when he climbed out and the news feed had that feed, I saw the cops, heard them, but was watching the news feed on a video feed on Ustream, say, oh no, the media's there, so they couldn't kill him. All right, we got big breaking news coming up in the next segment, then we'll go back to your phone calls. But I'm going to calls right now. Transatlantic danger, U.S.-EU merger talks underway in D.C. We have the article mirrored for public awakening at Infowars.com from NewAmerican.com. William F. Jasper is going to be joining us in just a moment. And I just thought to tell the guys during the break, it's almost 2 hours into Endgame. It's like a 2.5-hour film. I have the C-SPAN clip with Bush in 2007 there in the Rose Garden announcing the merger deal with the U.S. and the EU. So that's how they do it. They create mega regions, then start merging those agreements, but then break the subunits down where the original substates have no rights. So they break things up and then expand big global crime syndicate agreements above it. Wesley in Mississippi, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, first-time caller here, and I've been listening to you about a year now, although I like to think I've been awake for a few years.
Well, good to have you on board, brother. What's on your mind today?
Well, 2 points. I was going to ask you a question about the Zimmerman thing here in a second, but you mentioned something about prayer recently, and I wanted to say, yeah, whether people believe that, there's a God or not, inevitably, once you research the New World Order and Illuminati and the elite, no matter what, you come across that they do believe there is a God, and it's not the God of this universe. They are worshiping a God, and they're getting their orders from, a spiritual realm, whether you want to believe it's fallen angels or aliens.
Well, I mean, I've studied their plan, and it doesn't come from a human mind. It's so over-the-top evil, and I can even see how it's setting up all its own minions and even its higher-level priest. It's I mean, if you don't want to call it the devil, what David Icke talks about, I mean, it's something not of this world, baby. Something that fell, the fallen angel. I mean, it's bad.
I'll tell you about the Zimmerman case. Here's my kind of theory. I don't know if, it's popular or not, but from what I can tell what's going on with the media, they keep wanting to make it the racial deal. We all know that and everything. So I kind of feel like he might be found not guilty because it seems like they want the riots, they want there to be chaos, and they want people to, kind of get up in arms over it, the minorities to get really angry.
Well, they're the majority now, and that's why it's time to go back to the old Klan days, but now the Democrats are going to have the majority-minority with openly calling their groups racial, openly announcing whites are inherently evil. I mean, the Democratic Party's right back where it was in the 20s now.
I agree completely.
And again, I'm not saying the Republicans are great either. They're just offshore globalist frontmen. But the Democratic Party is the cutting edge of the New World Order. When a samurai comes at you with a sword, he's got the Democratic Party in his hand. The New World Order's got them in their hand, chopping everything up. Everybody just goes, trendy, trendy, But then at the top of it, it's a bunch of organized crime. Anything else, sir?
Well, do you think he'll be found guilty or not guilty? Any thoughts on that?
I think that they know the jury, because they're guaranteed spying on the jury. The Justice Department spies on everything. They know this is going against them because in jurisprudence and common sense, you can say Zimmerman was probably stupid, but he was being attacked, and you can argue it's self-defense. It's certainly not murder. So now she's saying, well, it can be involuntary manslaughter, or it can be manslaughter. In fact, I'm going to recap that right before we go to our guest when we come back in a moment. I still haven't gotten the meat of it today. I promise to do that. But he wasn't going to be convicted. And so the Justice Department, they admit's involved in stirring everything up and running the protesters. You know, they started the snowball. They know the jury's going to acquit him. So now the judge is instructing him, which they're not supposed to do, really. Well, it could be manslaughter, and he did that, so convict him. I expect the demon witch to probably do something like that and instruct them to convict her. And everybody will say it's unprecedented, but the media will hail it, and Obama will say, Trayvon looks like my son, racially identifying. We saw him a few decades ago, back with the Rodney King verdict, racial attacks on whites and Asians by predominantly black and Hispanic gangs in South Central L.A. Hundreds of buildings burned down, firefighters shot and killed, and the police department disgustingly stood down because, well, they didn't want to be called racist. And I'm not saying the LAPD isn't its own weird gang in many cases and bad as well, but one wrong to Rodney King, rest in peace, does not make it right to pull over a white truck driver and beat his whole head in until he couldn't even be recognized, Reginald Denny. And I see racially motivated crimes in the back of the paper all the time, and the media actually works to keep that hidden. Because it doesn't fit into the paradigm that everybody can do bad things and everybody can be racist. Why is it called reverse racism? When I see cases of, especially in L.A., where restaurants that are 100% Hispanics cooking and doing everything will not let other people work there. There's been a lot of discrimination, and it's been found to be going on, but the EEOC won't do anything. Because, see, that's not part of the political correct paradigm. And this is nothing but numbers politics, ladies and gentlemen. That's all that's going on here by cold-blooded globalists. And so the police, boy, I got some problems with the Florida police. They're some of the worst out there on average from the numbers I've seen, but some of them are good as well. Looks like they had a good police chief in this case. He said, look, we have all these witnesses. He might not have followed him with a gun, but he jumped on top of him, beat him up, and we wouldn't have arrested him and indicted him, but we were ordered to. That's in the news today. You got the judge knowing they can't get the big conviction for murder, so now they want the manslaughter and unprecedented telling him what to do versus his lawyers. I mean, this is unprecedented. And she is prejudiced the case, and it should be a mistrial. But I don't have some skin in the game like it's, a football team or basketball team, that it's the Heat versus the Spurs. And, I'm rooting for the Spurs. And so, and the pro-Trayvon group is the Heat or something. I just, at first was like, well, Zimmerman probably did something pretty stupid. I wouldn't have done that. But looks like from the witnesses that, Trayvon did jump on top of him and start beating him up. And what do you expect when you do that? And you're beating somebody's head in the ground. That's a lethal assault. That's aggravated assault. You have a right to shoot somebody. And then we learn about the Justice Department. By the way, I'm glad this is back in the news today, because I saw this last year, and I saw it on Drudge, and the Justice Department admitted it. It was a couple news articles, but never got any attention. And now we're learning the Justice Department's been involved the whole time trying to get big demonstrations going to politicize a racial divide, and Obama saying, looks like my son, and all this. It is unbelievable. So, Time Magazine comes out, says nothing about the thousands of tweets a day saying burn, kill whites, blah, 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 if Zimmerman isn't found guilty. They come out and just say, the police are racist. Here's the article. Time Magazine, cops preparing for pro-Trayvon riots is racist. And then in the Time Magazine article that Paul links to, I read it this morning, I couldn't believe how disingenuous this is. They never talk about the tweets or the groups organizing, or that stores got looted and robbed, Walgreens and others. And there were racial attacks all over Florida by groups of blacks against whites predominantly. Like we're going to get, back at somebody. It's like when the white guys dragged the poor black guy to death because they'd been in gang fights together in prison. A few years later, a group of blacks drug a white guy to death on the same road, like to, even things up. See, that's gang psychology. But it's like, oh, well, people are upset. Maybe a whitey needs to get their head beat in. And I'm just sick of it. And it's meant to make me racist. but quietly so, and only be in my area and then be balkanized, and the government then plays its race card stuff, and then referees. I want to expose how socialists and Marxists have done this all over the world. They'll use somebody from northern Czechoslovakia against southern Czechoslovakia and use old feuds to divide there. They'll have one African group that's animist kill the Christians, or vice versa. They use any divisions they can. We're going to go to our guest. I just wanted to hit this news. Time magazine, cops preparing for pro-Trayvon riots is racist. And the police have come out. They've put out PSAs saying, hey, raise your voice, not your fist, blah, blah, blah. And they're being called racist. Because, again, it doesn't fit into the paradigm of what the Justice Department wants to do, to have some nice race riots in this country, if they can, to divert off of all the scandals and the corruption, to get us divided with each other. Here's another one. Police fear flash mob violence if Zimmerman acquitted. Jury can consider manslaughter charge in Zimmerman trial, says the judge. Unprecedented. Witnesses to Zimmerson's tussle says he saw punches being thrown. Zimmerman opts not to testify as his defense team rests the case. And again, another witness, another neighbor, that Trayvon Martin was straddling on top of him, just like he said, beating his head in the ground, throwing punches. And if somebody can't open a can of, you know what, you got to have a gun. It doesn't look like Zimmerman knows how to go berserk. Plus, if somebody came in my home and was coming to assault me, I'm going to use a gun, even though I might be able to, beat them. I'm getting to be an old man, though. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to shoot you. But I wouldn't follow somebody again. I wouldn't follow somebody, even if I saw him knocking a window out. If it wasn't up in my yard and at my house, I wouldn't shoot him, because I don't want to deal with the problems. And I don't want to deal with my bullet missing and hitting somebody across the street. But you come into my house, you are deader than a doornail. So that's all going on. And then meanwhile, you'll never hear the Justice Department talk about this when they're pushing racial division. 63% of babies aborted in Texas are black and Hispanic. Annual total exceeds population of Galveston. In Texas, they kill the whole city of Galveston every year of, quote, minorities. So that's what's going on. Ex-Sanford police chief, Zimmerman probe taken away from us, that they wanted the arrest. Again, the local government taken away by the Justice Department through the state. Totally illegal. Zimmerman must be acquitted. Zimmerman must be let go. Or all justice is in danger. And that's what they want to do. They want to start, like England, arresting people that defend themselves. That's what they want to do. That is their great crime, is the individual defending themselves. You can read our article breaking all that down. Judge in Zimmerman case pressured by Obama administration, ? Bizarre outbursts against Zimmerman suggest prejudice. And not racial, folks. Most prejudice is not racial. You need to learn about that. They only want you to think about that so you don't know about all the big stuff going on. All right. This is a really important subject. I appreciate him coming on short notice. I saw this at newamerican.com. We linked to it up on Infowars.com today. It deals with transatlantic danger, U.S.-EU merger talks underway in D.C. And folks, that isn't a shocking headline by somebody that's just trying to be sensational. Jasper's very reserved, if I have any criticism of him. A great researcher and political mind, the editor of the New American magazine. And we really appreciate him joining us. He's also has a degree in child psychology and a bunch of other learned things, and he's one of the top experts on the UN worldwide on their real program. He's written a bunch of books and films, you name it. And you can find out more at newamerican.com, the biweekly excellent magazine. You want one thing to subscribe to give to people, Infowars magazine or something like New American magazine, but just a little plug there. We're going to break in a few minutes. Thanks for sitting there while I got to the Zimmerman trial news, and maybe I'll get your take on that towards the end of the hour and your study of how they use racial politics, the Marxists do. But before we go any further, tell people about this latest bold move and why you're putting out the headline, Transatlantic Danger, William F. Jasper.
Glad to do so, Alex. Thank you for having me on. And just as a coda to your remarks, I was at the Los Angeles riots that you mentioned there. I covered that. I was in the streets there as all that mayhem was going on, and saw firsthand how racial politics plays out in the street and how lives are lost and billions of dollars in people's homes and businesses destroyed. And I certainly hope we do not see that. But all of the same players and all of the same tactics are being used to turn the Zimmerman trial outcome into that kind of a terrible debacle. And I think that the onus and condemnation really has to be laid on all of those people, particularly in the media, who are fanning this, and those in the government, particularly in the administration.
Absolutely.
Who have been inciting this. I mean, that's totally unconstitutional and immoral for the federal government to be sticking its nose into there and funding protesters, as the evidence shows, organizing racist rants and the likes of Al Sharpton, et cetera, whom we've just recently done another in-depth thing on. But back to your main question. Most Americans are unaware that all of this week, starting on Monday and through tomorrow, the administration is holding the transatlantic partnership, TTIP, with the European Union. It really is it's being presented by President Obama in his State of the Union message. Said it was going to bring us, it would boost American imports, support American jobs, bring millions of good-paying jobs to America. It's supposed to be a trade pact, which is going to accomplish all of it.
And just as they use trade to get the EU in by stealth and admit it, same thing here. William F. Jasper is our guest. We're going to reconnect with him, try to get a better phone line connection, and come back and get into this, because now huge things, bigger than NAFTA, happen, and it's not even in the media. Stay with us. All right, folks, you notice now you hear global government being openly announced, run by private banks. Everything that William F. Jasper has talked about for, 3 decades, everything that old-timers at the John Birch Society, which I'm not even part of, but who I know from history now were proven absolutely correct, is now just kind of passé out in the open. And there's almost no news coverage of what I saw Bush start in 2006, 2007, and then now is being expanded, that just like a steel deal, a trade deal in 56, the Treaty of Rome, started the EU really rolling. Now they're doing this here, and they're circumventing congressional powers, just like NATO, our military's been told, is their new boss, and Congress has been told as well. And Congress has been bought off by these people in most respects, so nothing's done. So the editor of the New American Magazine has got an article out today, Transatlantic Danger, U.S.-EU merger talks underway in D.C. This needs to be discussed and blown wide open. We've beaten so many of these other treaties and circumnavigations of our republic. We're going to beat this as well. This is important. I'm going to tweet this article out. In fact, right now, it is essential. So, Mr. Jasper, this is a short segment, long segment coming up, but get into the meat and potatoes of this for people.
A very important thing happened today. In fact, I was trying to get this article done before we did the show here, but too many other things came up. But a very important thing happened today starting earlier in Europe. But one of the top European EU bureaucrats, Maros Sefcovic, he's the Commission Vice President for Interinstitutional Affairs Administration, he gave a speech earlier today in Vilnius, Lithuania being one of the members of the EU. And in there he made a very important statement in his speech. The speech title was National Parliaments and the Future of Economic and Monetary Union. And this article will be up here in the next hour or so on the New American website. But in there, he makes an important statement to all these. He's talking to the legislators of Lithuania, and he says, he's talking about how under the new agreements that they have to, because of the economic crisis, the EU has to take over more and more authority. And so he's saying this, quote, pooling sovereignty in this way would have been unthinkable a few years ago, and yet now it is likely to be the model for the future. Very important. He says pooling sovereignty. In other words, we national sovereignty anymore. We have to pool sovereignty. I mean, basically, that's a euphemistic way of saying we're destroying sovereignty. We, the people at Brussels and the European Union and the Commission and the Parliament, we're taking over, and we're calling this pooling sovereignty. He says that would have been unthinkable a few years ago, but now it's the model. And we need to be thinking of this. We need to be thinking of this and looking at this, scrutinizing it really, really hard, because that is what is coming if the TTIP, Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, succeeds. If President Obama, he announced this, that he was putting this on the fast track back at his State of the Union address, and he just got back from the G8 summit in Ireland, where he reaffirmed this. So now this week, all week long, is the first round of the TTIP talks, and so you have all these top European bureaucrats, like Mr. Miles here, who just made this speech calling for, or stating as fact that now the pooling of sovereignty is the model for the future. There is no more national sovereignty. We're taking over.
And really, they're not even merging Europe and North America, as you know, in their own admissions. They're transferring the republic, a national-based country sovereignty, into the supranational, private, corporate, bankster-run system. That's what's so amazing. They're not just merging our countries into one big kumbaya, which is bad enough. This is global government for and by central bankers.
Well, and that is very clear when you look at who is behind this and who are the quote-unquote stakeholders in this whole thing. The big my next article that's coming out today, I list the groups that are the main funders of the whole process. There's a think network called the Center for the Center for Economic Policy Analysis. And,
well, stay there. Let's go over it. I'm going to play a clip from my film that came out 6.5 years ago, Endgame. When we come back, it's a few minutes long, where I show them announcing this partnership, and it got almost no attention, and we'll find out where they are on this track, how we shoot it down, with the editor of the New American magazine, newamerican.com. Wow, it is great to have William F. Jasper on the line with us. If you're watching, he'll be leaving us at the end of the segment, and then I will get to your phone calls. Jared and Brian and Shane and Christine and Tex. I will get to you. And then Staff Sergeant Biggs, the friend of Michael Hastings, is going to be joining us again. It's really getting suspicious, that death, with the police not releasing the police report, saying they've been told don't talk. The firefighters, I mean, that engine blew the opposite direction of the car hitting the tree. The car didn't hit the tree. It came up against it. I've talked to journalists like Nomi Prinz that live there and went and looked at it. The tree wasn't really even damaged. She said she had trouble finding anything wrong with it. So, I mean, it's bad, folks. So we're going to be looking at that coming up here at the start of the next hour. Some stations don't carry the fourth hour. If not, you go to Infowars.com/show to find the free iPhone app, the free Droid app, the free audio streams, the free daytime video stream of the show. It's really a TV show / radio. And you can find just a bunch of other stuff there at Infowars.com/show. All right, William F. Jasper, again, thank you for joining us. You're getting into the transatlantic danger, U.S.-EU merger talks underway in D.C., and they admit they're, quote, sharing sovereignty, and the Russians will help advise at our mass events. And, oh, the foreign troops are having a big drill right now at Quantico, and on and on and on. And it is global government, they announce on CNBC. What's happening? Because the public's waking up to this and upset about it, but the power structure is just going ahead with it. So how do you see the state of the world right now? And then let's get back into this and exactly what it does.
Well, they're particularly relevant to the TTIP and what we see happening with this attempted merger of the United States with the EU, because that's what it is. It's both economic and political merger, convergence. And I've quoted many of the top people in Europe, Barroso and Van Rompuy, and many of the other top people. They've been saying this for years, that unless we have an actual convergence and a redefining of sovereignty, meaning defining it out of existence, we will not be able to have world order. And world order, in their terms, means that we have to have a central world government. And that's really where this is headed. And when you look at the negotiations today that are going on in Washington, D.C., I've given a link to the U.S. Trade Representative website. It shows all of the areas that they are admitting to negotiating on. It's a big, long list. I put them all in an article there on transatlantic danger. Agricultural market access, competition, cross-border services, customs, trade, investment, labor, legal institution issues, localization barriers, textiles, trade remedies. It goes on and on, dozens and dozens of areas. All of these are being negotiated in secret by people who are supposed, they called stakeholders. That's the official, the U.S. and EU officials.
That's how you get out of the people having any rights. You have all these picked, that's the UN model for those that don't know, the picked groups that you then say represent people, and it's Goldman Sachs and BP and other Bilderberg funders. You are a stakeholder.
Right, well, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Bank of England, Bank of Israel, Bank of Canada, Bank for International Settlements, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank. You see that all of these are listed as the top supporters, the top funders, the top promoters of the TTIP. And they, of course, have pimped and gotten the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the International Chamber of Commerce, the National Manufacturers Association, and most of the various industrial groups to sign on to this, giving the appearance that this is really going to be in favor of American business. Of course, it will help many of the top corporations, because if you read the European delegation to the United States website daily, they show all of these public-private partnerships where the EU government and privileged corporations are going into joint operations together.
Sure, they're picking winners and losers.
Businesses, the independent businesses that really pay the taxes and that produce all the worthwhile jobs, they're left out in the cold. They have to pay for that with their taxes.
No, you're absolutely right. And of course, we got the Banff Canada documents back in 2006 of the SPP and the first agenda. Judicial Watch got it. Anybody can look at this.
Right.
They said, we're going to integrate by stealth, lie to your constituents, and it was a corporate board there with the leaders of Canada and the U.S. and Mexico literally taking their orders. So here's my problem. They're already merging the Canadian and U.S. Border Patrol. That was announced last week with joint patrols. They're already sending U.S. military to Canada during the Olympics. Their military down here, Mexican military. So they're doing the stealth integration. I mean, kind of like Obama had stealth amnesty and just legalized the illegals anyways, even though they can't pass the amnesty bill. How do you fight this, the just fiat implementation? Because from my research, Mr. Jasper, they're already going ahead and just doing this.
Well, you're absolutely right. They have been. And again, the only time that we get any pushback on this is when there is enough heat, enough fire applied to the feet of Congress that they start pushing back with the administration on this. As you know, the Obama administration is trying to rule by executive order, and they have been issuing executive orders, and there are many executive fiats that aren't even issued as executive orders in the actual Federal Register. But we still have at least a bare outline of our Constitution left. We still are able to, on programs like this and with the tools at hand, we still are able to communicate with each other and with members of Congress. And if we do not do it now while we still can, I think that window is fast closing. And so now is the time to put aside unessential things and really work to get Congress to take the right
absolutely
action.
And that means
the state legislatures. I mean, this has been one of the big things. I know your program has been big on this too. At the county level, the sheriffs, and at the state level, the state legislators and governors, exercising their God-given rights as guaranteed under the Constitution to be the guardians of the people's liberty and to stand up for and to interdict those federal usurpations of power. And so this is happening on a number of different levels. This is what we see happening now in Europe. Unfortunately, the people of Europe were duped for too long. And so now you have in the UK one of the few real serious pushbacks.
UKIP.
Coming largely from the UKIP, the United Kingdom Independence Party. But tomorrow in England, the Parliament is going to vote on whether they're going to have an in-out referendum, whether they're going to stay in the EU or whether they're going to get out. And the only reason they're having that vote tomorrow is because the UKIP and other independence-minded people have said, "Hey, we're finished with this. We've had it with this. The EU is hopelessly corrupt. They are pushing for complete centralized control over all aspects of our lives, and that has become very, very apparent even before the speech that I just told you about today, where they came out at this very inopportune time for the TTIP negotiations and exposed themselves as basically doing away with sovereignty.
Very interesting, and it's such a historic time to be alive. When I had, a few years ago, Nightline was here, and it was the host of the nightly news, was doing the Nightline piece. It's the host of ABC Nightly News, folks, and I can't remember his name. What's his name? The point is, he was here. We went out to dinner and stuff, too. I hung out with him for like a whole day. And he said, there is no global government. So I showed him Von Rumpe saying it and Gordon Brown saying it and the head of the EU, all this stuff. And he goes, they're talking about a different world government than you are. And it's like playing this little game.
Yeah, they're talking about a benign, beneficent world government.
Exactly. But, I mean, there's no apology that we were right about the NSA and we were right about globalists, and we were right about the big banks laundering drug money and running the drugs, and we were right about all of it. Now it's kind of like, okay, you're right, and we're just doing it no matter what. And I don't think people understand that their public plan is to be tax exempt, and we're not, and shut everyone down as a political tool of austerity to make us so poor we have to go on the government dole as a giant collectivization re-education. The West is going through a high-tech version of the Cultural Revolution Great Leap Forward of Mao. And that's why David Rockefeller in the New York Times praises Mao. I mean, and that's why our government helped put Mao in.
And that's why they continue to hobnob with all of the communist power elite in Beijing as well as in Russia and elsewhere. One of my mentors was Hilaire Duberrier, who wrote the authoritative H2B reports out of Monte Carlo. He was a contributing editor to The New American and before that to American Opinion Review of the News. And I went over and visited him a number of times over in Monte Carlo. He came over and stayed with me over here. And he was one of the first ones to write about the EU as this was happening in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Wow.
And he was the one that first opened my eyes to this. I could tell there was something not quite right about that whole European common market, but he had done all of the homework, and he was regularly in Brussels and started me going to Brussels to the EU and NATO to get the documents on that and to meet some of the top people who had been in the EU and NATO and had seen what the corruption and the will to power were bringing about. And so I like to give a credit to him. He was a voice in the wilderness for many decades, documenting what was going on there, doing tremendous research on this. And unfortunately, not enough people listened to his warnings back then. But he pointed out that not only what was happening, but who was doing it. And back in the 1970s, for instance, he pointed out that it was primarily the Council on Foreign Relations, which in my article yesterday, I point out at the end of the article, it's primarily the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, which is the brain trust that is leading all of these other different think tanks and corporate organizations that are pushing this. And it's very clear that their final objective is global governance, world government.
To then carry out the orderly reduction of the human population, which is their real obsession. And in closing here, I just want to say something. If it wasn't for you, how long have you been fighting?
Well, it's going on 37 years now.
Okay, if it wasn't for you and the people that founded Mr. Welsh and others before you back in the 50s, and if it wasn't for the Liberty Movement and what we've done now for 18 years and all our listeners, they would have already gotten all this through. As it is, the Euro's in trouble. Their whole program's in trouble. That's why they're just barreling forward like a bulldozer. But now they're uncloaked. So I want people to understand something. History is happening right now, and our credibility's never been higher. The enemy's never been more committed, but we're never more committed than we are now. And this is historic, what's happening. So I want you to know, no one is going to sing our praises. Not that we need those for our ego, but so people know you have power, we have power, the truth has power. And what Jasper's done and the other people at the New American Magazine and their supporters and what we've done, I wouldn't be here probably if it wasn't for their research and their early seed of resistance. And then think of all the people that wouldn't be awake if it wasn't for what I've done. It's the same thing. We're in a family of liberty. Every race, color, creed, religion for basic human dignity. And the greatest evil this world has ever faced is this globalist scientific tyranny. I want to play a clip from Endgame when they first started setting up the merger of North America with the EU, and Bush was pushing it. Again, this is bipartisan tyranny. Here's that clip.
Thank the Chancellor and Josie very much for the transatlantic economic integration plan.
And for that, too, we need to develop a common market, common standards.
So this is indeed a very important agreement, an agreement that also brings with it a Transatlantic Economic Council to be a permanent body with senior people on both sides of the Atlantic that will look at all those issues in a concrete manner in which way
head of the EU at the time
move forward.
The BBC reported that the US and EU had agreed on a single market. By announcing a new economic community integration, they were simply repeating what had been done in America and the EU on a larger scale. The accord states that the two blocs will aggressively push regulatory convergence in more than 35 areas, from financial services, intellectual property, military, education, mergers and acquisitions. They also agreed to jointly push a global carbon tax.
We recognize that we have a problem with greenhouse gases.
We agree there is a global threat, it's a serious threat. We agree there is the need to establish a limit to greenhouse gases.
That's good. We got about a minute left, Mr. Jasper, editor at the New American Magazine. I just wanted to point out, see, they've never gotten Congress to sign off. They're just going ahead with it. And again, they're doing it to shut down their competition. And they brag. They send the bureaucrats to harass real companies, and they don't give government contracts to the small businesses, even though it's the law they're supposed to. This is a group of kleptocrats. Your closing comments.
Well, as we saw with the FTA, Free Trade Area of the Americas, and with the SPP, they are going to try. There is a part of this that they're trying to push through right now with the negotiations. They want to present it then as a fait accompli, as this wonderful, magical thing that's going to give us jobs and prosperity, and they're going to try to shout down all and ignore all opposing viewpoints. They have enough members of Congress, both Republican and Democrat, probably to push it through now. They've bribed enough of them with various bribes and promises. But that's what we were told with the FTAA and the SPP, that they couldn't be stopped. when enough people became aware of it, after
absolutely
what happened with NAFTA, etc., we were able to shut it down.
William F. Jasper, we'll follow this in the next few weeks with you. I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.
All right, I'll say bye to you during the break. We're going to come back, final segment for the main show, some other news, then your phone calls, then Staff Sergeant Biggs. Stay with us. By the way, there's a viral video that came out last night that David Knight, is a pretty sharp reporter here, thinks is staged somehow because of some of the other stuff on the guy's channel. Tell us what you think. If it is real, it's terrible, and you know the Border Patrol will 100 miles into the country knock your windows out. I've seen that happen to people for real over and over again. Pastor Anderson famously. But mystery video, is viral checkpoint footage real? Filmmaker of viral video has bizarre filmography. Well, that doesn't mean that it didn't really happen to him, though. And he was dressed up in a gas mask and stuff, which may have scared the Border Patrol. But something's going on here. We're trying to investigate it. Tell us what you think about it, because it's extremely viral. City denies man's claim after police shoot at him, mistaking him for Christopher Dorner. Yeah, they're trying to even say sometimes they can kill you now for no reason. It's like, whatever. They'll take your bank accounts too, cops, once there's no justice. Illinois rep calls for troops on Chicago streets. Man refuses to comply with internal checkpoint. Border Patrol smashes their way into the vehicle. Again, that's Steve Watson's original article on it. Judge in Zimmerman case pressured by Obama administration. Is it racist for cops to prepare for pro-Trayvon riots? That's what Time Magazine says. And why did the Obama administration organize and manage protests against George Zimmerman? That's been forgotten. But the American Dream has an article about it, and we're linked to it at Infowars.com. There's another article in there by Paul Watson, along with some video about shifting the public psyche into understanding what's going on. You know, I kind of had a little light bulb go off in my head right at the end of that last segment when I was playing that video clip from Endgame, that a lot of people get overwhelmed by this, and I can imagine that it scares some people, and at a certain point, you know, people may think this is just overwhelming. It's like everything's been proven to be accurate. We've covered now. But then people go, okay, well, then we're just taken over by criminals. What do we do? You don't know the power you have. I mean, a ragtag group has been stalling this, and it's probably 10, 15 years behind on its global takeover schedule because little old ladies called Congress and people went to town hall meetings and people are fighting smart growth everywhere. Which just gets rid of private property rights. That's all it is. Smart meters get rid of your privacy and spy on you and irradiate you, and they admit that. And smart communities only let certain people build and create huge taxes on everybody else and enslave everyone. I mean, it's just all criminality. When you hear the word smart, it means criminal, ripping you off. Everybody that gets the smart meters, you know why people are against the smart meters? A lot of people don't care they're getting spied on or they're getting surveilled. They don't like the fact that their power rates explode after they put them on your house. And they turn your air conditioner off and stuff. And I'd tell people that 10 years ago because it was in the documents. Oh, that's crazy. The government would never run my refrigerator or my dishwasher. You lying nut. I'd have people on the street walk by and go, Alex Jones, you say the most ridiculous stuff I ever heard. Okay, well, what's ridiculous? You know, you liar. You do it for money. I had a lady do it 4th of July when I talked about it on air. I shot a video of it. I'm like 30 feet away from them shooting a video about checkpoints all over the country on 4th of July, and they recognize me because you can see in that earlier video that they're looking at me. When I walk by them, she's like, shut up, you brainwasher. And I'm just supposed to go, oh, you made fun of me and acted confident I'm scared. Then her husband goes, get out of here. You heard me. I went, no, I'm not going anywhere. I didn't call him a punk, didn't escalate it. Said, I got a First Amendment, Jack. It didn't say that, but I said, I bet your wife can't debate me because she's about an inch deep, isn't she? So I was kind of mean after that, after he tried to bow up to me. And I guess I even was more aggressive. I turned to my side, offering him to hit me in the face, which I just shouldn't be so aggressive. Well, if he'd have hit me, Genie Jedi. right, Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs is going to be joining us, give us an update on the tragic, very mysterious death. It's really not mysterious. There's now a big cover-up. He was going into hiding. He was getting death threats. He had the big story he was breaking. I mean, that's like somebody walking up and shooting you in the head in front of everybody and then going, I wonder what killed him. I mean, it's just like, it'd be a conspiracy theory to not say he wasn't murdered. Unbelievable, but let's go to phone calls. Jared in South Carolina, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
I'm actually calling you today because I have a challenge for you, and I was hoping you would accept it on the air today.
Well, I'm already pretty busy, but I'll hear your challenge.
My challenge is for you and your InfoWars team. I was challenging you to create some sort of wake-up kit, a collection of different articles and things that I can give to my local sheriff and see if that'll help get him on our side.
Well, I do that. I mean, we sell Sheriff Richard Mack's book about the constitutional sheriff that's designed to wake him up, and it's actually been having a big effect. So there's that. I would buy that book, and I would give that to the local sheriff, and then I would give them a gift subscription to InfoWars magazine, and believe me, it'll go all over the department, and they'll get 12 issues of it. But we do need to come up with more stuff like that, and more activist pages and more flyer pages for on any issue, whatever it is. People can print off a flyer on that issue. I've told folks that. We've actually had a bunch of those, thousands of flyers. Let me be conservative. Hundreds and hundreds of flyers per contest. There's been a bunch of those, and I've wanted to get them all in one spot on the site. But you can just type in InfoWars flyers, and we've got them on the police state, on the vaccines, on waking up. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff out there. People can make their own flyers. The new magazine has 10 bumper stickers in it, 4 big ones and 6 medium-sized ones that say stuff like forbidden information, Infowars.com. America has been occupied by globalist forces, Infowars.com. This is the July issue. It will sell out. Folks should get it, buy it in bulk. I mean, I've tried to do what I can. Well, I've got a great crew, but when you get a larger crew, it almost becomes more work because then it's like getting it all done the way you want it. But, I mean, what should I put in the kit?
One of the things I've noticed in the process of waking up and wanting to wake other people up is that it is hard to know where to look to find all the things that you need to show people. And so what I was thinking would be a collection of different articles you've come across in the years that would be the best ones to show somebody if you're really trying to hit them hard and get them to wake up.
Well, I think a film like Endgame or The Obama Deception, in a wide range, if somebody will watch that, most people aren't going to read a lot, if they'll watch that, they'll see the globalists in their own words saying it. So I think that's probably the secret right there.
I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate the work you do, Alex.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you calling in. Brian in Kentucky, I'll come back to you later after the guest is on, but Adam Kokesh, hurting the cause is what you want to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, I was going to say, I really like your show, and I appreciate what you do. And, I like to think I've been awake for a while, but you've really helped me focus and, concentrate on the important things. And
sure, we're almost out of time, though, man. I mean, look, I don't like some of the stuff Adam does overall, but he's taking action. So it's hard to criticize somebody that has courage.
Oh, I'm not trying to criticize. I just think, I know he got arrested at the pro-pot rally, and then with the raid the other day, they found drugs in his house, whether they were planted or not. And I just think, as a leader of a certain part of the movement and stuff, it's his responsibility to make sure he's squeaky clean and doesn't give, the authorities any.
No, I hear you, but see, he's going at it from the other angle. He's going to live however he wants. How dare them be in his business, and how dare them lock people up in cages over drugs they bring in. Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs, 82nd Airborne, combat in Iraq, Afghanistan, and it was, 2008, he first was embedded with a well-known war reporter, certainly now, and one of the editors over at Rolling Stone magazine, who really brought down one of the top generals. And, of course, that was McChrystal. Now, a few weeks ago, his car, most of you know the story, blew up while driving down the street, and the engine shot down the road the other direction. And I talked to well-known reporter, Nomi Prinz, who lives nearby. She went and looked at it. She said the tree wasn't even really damaged. And it looked like from the photos it came up to rest against it. Then we learned he was getting death threats. Hours before he said, I'm going to go into hiding off the radar. I've got my biggest story ever. Listen, if I ever come on here and say, I'm getting threats, I'm going off the radar, I'm about to break my biggest story ever, and my car blows up, man, I want an investigation. And I said on air a few weeks ago, I said it's a very low probability that this wasn't some type of car bomb. Just from all the experts and military people I had on days after that looked at it. Then I said, we need to go talk to the police and the fire department, and if they're told not to talk to people, and I said this on air over and over again, and if they try to suppress the police reports, the first reports, I said, ladies and gentlemen, it means national security pressure was put on them. This is NDAA type stuff. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I happen to know through family connections and things that there have been federal hit teams in this country. They don't even have to hire organized crime for a very long time. I'm going to leave it at that because I got family that gets mad if I talk about it. But I've told the story before. And the whole issue here is the public is very naive. Now, San Diego and other TV stations went, and because they'd heard our show and others, and said, well, the family said they wanted an investigation, and his friends were questioning. We just wanted to learn the details. And they even had to apologize on one of the newscasts and say, we don't want to be conspiracy theorists. They'd be like Caesar stabbed 100 times 2,000 years ago, and people say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory that he was murdered. When you're to the point in this country where the media barely decides to do any of its job and has to apologize, you're in trouble. And the media's like, it's so strange. They usually give us their police reports. They're acting very strange. They've been told, here's the key, not to talk. They're like, by who? And they're like, we're not going to tell you, but we're scared. Just like the family's scared. And Staff Sergeant Biggs, who we're about to go to, he said a few weeks ago when he went on Fox, they tried to belittle him and, you know, say, well, we don't want to hear conspiracies. Just when he said, hey, it looks strange to me, it should be investigated. How evil! It should be investigated. He said, look, the family, I've been to the funeral. They're scared, but the wife is saying she wants to bring down whoever did this. You'd think that'd be national news. No news coverage of him saying that on this show 2 weeks later. Okay? So understand, ladies and gentlemen, the widow saying she thinks there might be something going on and she wants to bring down whoever did this and she's going to fight this somehow. That would be national news. The media normally in the old days, just even 20 years ago, 10 years ago, if one of their people got killed, everybody investigated it out of a sense of camaraderie, basic common sense. We better hang together or hang separate. So I can tell you right now, it's about 99% in my educated research view that he was murdered. And, I mean, you add it all together, you'd be nuts to not think that's where this is going. And Biggs said, he said, look, I'm going to go public because other people are scared and won't speak out. I'm going to do this. He'd do this for me. And I tell you, it freaks me out that there are so many cowards in this country. And that something that was commonplace in the old days, I've studied history, is now so rare. But we commend you, Staff Sergeant Biggs, for being a good friend, a good American, and investigating. And I think a lot of credence has been added to your questioning now. What do you think of everything that's transpired since we talked a week and a half ago, sir?
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy things been popping up. I found out recently that the LAPD actually made a stop by Michael's house just a couple days prior. And they were spotted there. He was also spotted looking under his car a few days prior. So that in itself is pretty fishy, along with the fact that I called the LAPD and they told me there's nothing they can do. They wouldn't tell me anything. And it seemed as soon as I brought up Michael's name, they all kind of just got hush-hush and just acted a bit, uneased.
Well, I'd say so. By helping cover up, they begin to enter the galaxy of being accomplices. Wow, walk through this. This is really newsworthy for everyone in the state of this country. I talked to you via text a few days ago. You said you were going to be talking to the police and calling the fire department. Walk through who you called, what happened, what unfolded.
Well, I called the coroner, too, to ask about where the body was. And they said that they had released it a while back, but when I'd spoken to the family, they hadn't received it yet. So that was pretty odd. And then when I called the LAPD and asked for a report, I said, what steps do I need to go through to file to get a copy of the police report on Michael Hastings' death? And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we need to transfer you. And then someone told me, well, we can't help you with this. And it just kind of got pushed around. I went from one person's call to another. And
oh, that's not newsworthy that the body's missing. Obviously, they're going to have to because you've been in combat. As you said, you've been in an IED. Couldn't you test and pick up the residue of an explosive?
Well, what happened was they ended up apparently cremating the body.
Oh, whoa, you hadn't dropped them. Oh, they decided to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't heard back from his wife yet if that's what they wanted, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that's something that he wouldn't have wanted. I'm pretty sure, I mean, anybody would want their family to have an actual funeral.
And you just are dropping bombshell after bombshell on me. Again, your good friend, you're the guy that released the email that he was going into hiding and being, the FBI was visiting people, then they lied and said they weren't. Tell us who told you that the police went by his house and that he was seen looking under his car.
I got that from a news group out of L.A.
Wow. Man, I tell you, when was the last time you physically talked to him, I mean, over the phone or in person rather than email?
Michael?
Yes.
Probably 3 months ago.
I mean, you knew him so well, and he was embedded with you for a long time, and he's one of the guys, he sent this email to. What do you think he would be saying now if this would have happened to another investigative journalist like himself?
I'm sure he'd be on the media or in the news as much as possible, trying to keep this in the light and not have it seem so swept away. It seems like that when I was on Fox with Megan, I think that aired maybe one time, and that was it. I mean, that was it. If you didn't watch it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, who was watching the news then? Most of the time everyone's listening to the radio, so not many even people even got to see that. It just seemed like everyone just kind of just wanted to hear about it, and then they wanted to forget about it as soon as possible. And I know that's something he would keep from happening. He'd keep running his mouth. He'd keep digging in, opening the wounds up, and making people have to look and find out what's going on.
Obama signed the NDAA, and he's openly said, and so is Big Sis Napolitano, the head of Homeland Security, that the main threat is not Al-Qaeda now for Homeland Security, that it is Tea Partiers, libertarians, conservatives, but also anti-war people, basically anybody with a social conscience. And then the NDAA really says they can disappear whoever they want and that they'll target and kill any American they want. And so I don't think they've ever had it on paper saying that. And we're seeing a real uptick in mysterious deaths of whistleblowers and people. Man, I tell you, you said your gut told you something was wrong early on. Now, what does this whole picture tell you, Staff Sergeant Biggs?
The government's doing some shady stuff. I mean, he was onto something and enough to where they want to quiet L.A. up.
You know what makes me think about, like, Pat Tillman? He was going to come back and blow the whistle, and look what happened to him.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's the same thing all over again.
What do guys in the military say about Pat Tillman? Because I guess he was a Ranger, you're a Ranger.
No, I'm not a Ranger.
Oh, you were an airborne?
Yeah, 82nd Airborne.
Okay. But I mean, what did the guys in the Army say about Tillman?
Most people tried not to talk about it because you don't want to even think about the fact that your own government's going to kill you and cover it up and just amount to nothing. You still try to hold on to some positive ounce of hope when you're in combat and think that, everything's going to be all right.
Well, what's going to happen if a lot of people start dying like this? I think there'll be some pushback. So,
well, I mean, if my car blows up, then I guess we all know they better start looking around.
Well, buddy, we need to actually think about that. I think if we went out to Los Angeles, maybe we should go out to Los Angeles together. I don't think you're afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm actually afraid of giving into this fear. And if the family invited me, I will go and investigate.
Well, I'll jump in anyone's face. I don't care. I want to find out what's going on, too. I'll go to L.A. with you in a second.
Well, I think you're his friend, so you've got some jurisdiction to do it. I've got his wife's contact info or email and the Twitter. I know you've got her number and stuff, but I get people having kids. This is getting scary, wanting to give it some space. she says she wants to bring down who did it, but I'm not expecting a woman to, charge around. But I've told she has a lot of courage by you and others. I just feel like I'm going to let myself down if we don't do something about this because.
You see everybody, I mean, there's a lot of people, I've seen a big outcry lately, a lot of emails from people saying that they, that they themselves are investigative reporters, journalists who had looked up to Michael, and people from Dublin to China are all, really wanting to know what's going on, but it's the people right here that, we need to get together and we need to do something.
Well, his wife is saying that she didn't know anything he was investigating, but she knows it wasn't about one of the friends of the CIA director, former General Petraeus. She may know something that she doesn't think is important, but they know. And I'm not trying to threaten her with the truth into going public. But if I was her, I'd be running around screaming bloody murder. Because that, as Jim Garrison said in the Kennedy investigation, that's the safest thing to do. And he obviously knew that. That's why he was going into hiding to get a new story out quickly. Do you have any ideas, or is anybody at the funeral giving you ideas of what it was? Because for our own safety, we need to get all this out now.
It's the CIA. That's the exact words I was told. Like I said last time, Michael told her that he wasn't going to tell her anything any further into that matter. But he did tell a lawyer.
He did?
He told everything to a lawyer, and it's not the WikiLeaks lawyer. So I still don't know where that came from.
Okay, so she told you that, or somebody at the funeral?
She told me that.
Boy, that lawyer is... I'd like to know who that lawyer is, because well, they've obviously got him surveilled, but he knows how to do countermeasures. That lawyer needs to be investigated. I'm not saying the lawyer's involved. We don't know who they are yet, but I'm telling you, either that person would be telling it all, or they're out of their mind. See, I had the D.C. Madam on. I've had a bunch of people on, and they kill them like a month later. I mean, I've lived through this. And I'm just...
Probably the only way to get any information out of the police and things like that. I mean, the only way to get information anytime when you can't get something to sue somebody. From what I've been told, the easiest way to get information is just start a lawsuit, sue somebody, and then the information has to be brought to light.
That's right, but nowadays it's so corrupt they'll put out fake stuff. But that happened with the Oklahoma City bombing. That's what we found out. Southern Poverty Law Center was in the catbird seat there at Elohim Center. Along with the Deputy Attorney General, who's now the Attorney General. Look, they're just gangsters, and I can't believe the LAPD is that corrupt and the fire department is that cowardly that they wouldn't be speaking out. I mean, it's this culture of fear that allows these bad guys to take over.
Yeah. Everyone's scared. People want to talk, but no one wants to take that step to actually make something happen. Most people just want to go through their lives and pretend like everything's fine, and they don't really want to open that curtain and see what's really going on back there.
But don't they get that lets the evil take over when they have that attitude?
Most people are just, like you said before, sheeples. They don't care. As long as they get their paycheck every other week and their AC's on and their cell phones work and they get to play little video games, they're happy. Most people would rather live in the dark than see what's really out there.
Yep, and then every time people act like that, you get a Nazi Germany or a Soviet-style deal because the criminals aren't going to stop grabbing. Look, I've been asking a lot of the questions here. Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs, one of his best military buddies from all those years of being embedded over there, one of the only guy to release that he was, we wouldn't know that he was going into hiding. We wouldn't know they were death threatening him. We wouldn't know about the email because everybody had the email, but we're too afraid to release it. In the 5 minutes we've got left here with you, I want to give you the floor instead of me asking questions about other points you'd like to make or what you'd like to say to people out there, A, the cowards that are going along with this, and B, maybe those that were part of this, because I don't know how they think they're going to have a future in a country this corrupt.
Well, I know whoever did this, you got me to look forward to seeing. I'm going to definitely find out what's going on because I'm going to pull back those Band-Aids. I'm going to dig into that scab, and I'm going to find out that dirt. And I'm going to come after him and bring that into the media as fast as I can. Whatever I can find out, I will. And people need to help out. I mean, I need to find a lawyer down in L.A. that can actually give me some legal advice on how we could take steps to get this information from the police. And it needs to be done fast.
Well, the CIA has got ice darts that have cyanide in them that basically dissipates and almost impossible to find in toxicology. They've got 101 ways on top of 101 to kill somebody nobody knows. They blew that up as a message to everybody. Sorry, go ahead, keep going.
No, you're good.
No, it's just, I mean, everything you say makes me think of other things, other points you'd like to make.
Other than that, I'm getting scared the fact that people are just going to forget about this. We need to keep this like front page as much as possible. People need to keep asking questions. I mean, not just me. Everyone should want to know what happened because it doesn't seem right. Everyone should have that gut feeling in you that makes you a human being that wants to see the right thing done, and to just ignore it and sweep it away, it makes me want to throw up.
That's exactly how I feel. It makes you feel nauseous, and it's like being smothered. And you're not even worried about getting killed or set up because all that matters is that we don't lay down. Because I'm telling you, folks, if they can kill top reporters, investigative reporters worldwide, this guy wasn't just one of the biggest in the U.S., top 3 or 4 probably worldwide, who they knew was real. You know, that speech I played about a week before he got killed, he was on Young Turks, where he said, look, they're coming after the media. This is authoritarianism. We got to band together, and they've declared war on us. We got to declare war on them and just put all the national security stuff out, the crimes they're committing. These are he had found out how bad they really are. He'd had that moment of conscience that he was going to go all the way, and they blew him up. And the issue is that if they kill you, if they kill me, it becomes more and more obvious. This has happened a lot in history. All that matters is they're going to get taken down. If we all cower, then they're going to win and start killing whoever they want.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to cower, I'll tell you that. I'll stand right in their face and tell them how it is.
Well, they're cowards. They'll put another car bomb on you, but they probably aren't going to do that. I mean, he had something big for them to do that, and it was a message to the media, you know, because the media is not stupid. They know they killed him. That's why Megyn Kelly, I can't even look at her now, like laughing at you when you're on there like it's funny. This isn't funny. Even if you were wrong, your buddy's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not too keen on her anymore either.
Well, look, man, as soon as you're gone in 3 or 4 minutes, I'll have 10 questions that come in my head. I'm just flabbergasted at this point. Any other tidbits from the funeral? Anything else that his widow said? You know, she said, quote, to you, I'm going to find him and bring him down. Was that the quote?
When she pulled me aside, she said, you know, she's like, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to find these guys and, you know, find out what happened. And I told her I would be there side by side to help her every step of the way. And she gave me her email, and I emailed her back later on after I gave her some time. And we've spoken on the phone and texted a few times. And, you know, she's trying to get or I think she might have an investigator now to help her out. And she's doing a lot of things she can. My side is I want to keep this as public as possible the whole time so it's in the public eye. And I want people to, every time they turn on the freaking TV or listen to the radio, someone's talking about it. So people are thinking about it because I can't sleep anymore. I stopped going to school for 2 weeks. I mean, I can't. It's completely.
Oh, well, listen, get the rest you need and stuff and say clearly, they'll say, oh, he committed suicide. He was sad about his friend. You're on record. You're never going to commit suicide.
Oh, God, no.
Me neither. And, again, I don't drive 100 miles an hour. My car's not going to blow up. And I do not want my body cremated. I want a third party, 2 different autopsies. My family will pay for it. What about you?
Yeah, I want people to see. I'm not afraid.
No, I hear you. But give people a living will. Let me tell you, they'll blow you up or me up and then cremate us.
Oh, yeah, I've already got one of those done. I did one of those a few years ago.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
But that's the great part, though. That's why they hate the veterans. I'm sure you've seen the Homeland Security documents where they say the veterans are the #1 terror threat. That's even, you know, Washington Post. It's because they know veterans aren't afraid and have faced death, and they're afraid of men and women who are not cowards.
Well, that and you just see all the shady stuff that goes on, and you're just not willing to, you know, be quiet about it. Most people just hear about it, but to actually see a lot of this stuff.
That's right. So you're not naive. You saw a lot of chicanery.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, I've been in vehicles that have blown up and, you know, thrown my vehicle 10 feet up in the air and completely demolished, you know, and I've got, you know, cuts all over my body. And my vehicle at no time was engulfed in the flames that were engulfed in that Mercedes-Benz, which still just blows my mind. And they just want to shake it off and say no foul play.
Well, I tell you, I'm sure looking down from heaven that Michael appreciates you as a friend doing this, and it's important for the real media to continue to cover this, and it's important. I mean, at least we are getting some mainline TV stations to ask questions now, so it's not just you or I saying we've called and they won't give us the police report.
Yeah, that's good, though, yeah.
Man, how suspicious. We've been told not to talk. The body's disappeared, basically, and been cremated, and we're not going to give you a police report.
One thing after another, but either way, every dirty little lie's got to come forth at some point. We'll find out.
What's your gut tell you, Staff Sergeant Joseph Biggs, what he had on the CIA, or just no idea? Who knows what it was?
I mean, I don't know exactly what it could be. I mean, it's kind of funny, all these things with Snowden that's happening. Who knows what he was going after? But, you know, someone probably got, or, you know, was a whistleblower, came forth to him, gave him some information, and he probably followed one of those leads, you know, and it could have been like a CIA guy. It could be anybody. Who knows? Somebody with some kind of power like that.
Well, I salute your courage, Staff Sergeant Biggs. We'll talk again soon. We'll keep this story alive. God bless you.
We're on the...
Hey, let's pump her stomach. Let's get the... No. She was also breathing on her own, even though she was on a respirator. Well, see, that's part of the act. That's like when a SWAT team raids Amish for having their own milk. It's all part of the theater. Oh, look, we have guns and armored vehicles. They're bad. They're bad. We wouldn't be here if they weren't bad. Oh, here, let's put me on a respirator. They could have just got Michael Hastings, stuck him on a respirator. He's like, get it out of my mouth. And they're like, shut up. Boom. You know, this is it's all theater. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. And then it's her on the table fighting for her life. Next, they'll just say, she's really a zombie. You know, I mean, that's how this works now. And they'll go, it's a conspiracy theory that anybody's alive. We'll take all your organs. It's for the children. And if you don't like it, you're a racist. What's that have to do with medical tyranny? That's what every racist says. 800-259-9231. Huge news coming up. 800-259-9231. When I come out of the gates in the next segment, I'm going right to your phone calls. Then I'll get to the Justice Department, finally the media's paying attention, organizing the Trayvon Martin protest, trying to organize riots, I guess to be a distraction from all of the big scandals that are racing around right now. And the judge interfering, unprecedented, trying to prejudice the jury, basically. You've got the police chief saying they were pressured to basically arrest him, even though they knew from all the witnesses that he had been assaulted. And regardless of what you think of Zimmerman, this is a giant media diversion, and they're trying to create division with it. And Trayvon jumped on top of him and beat the daylights out of him. And but the point is, it's just a mindless soap opera. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into some incredible medical news. Worms regrow their decapitated heads along with their memories, which a lot of science shows is actually accurate. I'm going to break down what that really means. Folks, your spinal cord is a continuation of your brain. Your stomach has brain-type tissue in it. It's not just this brain up here. That's why you drink beer, you get, drunk up here. Of course, the blood also picks up the alcohol and takes it up there, but that's what autism is. These kids are poisoned by the pesticides and all the rest of it in the food. But we're going to be getting into that. We're going to get into William F. Jasper, editor of The New American, is going to be joining us. Transatlantic danger, EU-U.S. merger talks underway in D.C. Oh, yeah. That actually already happened back in 2007, but now they're going public with it. We're going to be breaking that down. We're going to be getting into just a ton of news. Lawmaker demands the National Guard patrol the streets of Chicago to stop gun violence. The truth is, this has already been going on for 4 years. Before Blagojevich got indicted, he had already deployed them for about a week. And they're still there off and on. We've confirmed, but there's hardly ever any news coverage. So this is just all part of take the citizens' guns, then only criminals have guns, then the whole society collapses, and then the government gets to bring in martial law, which is why the establishment wants a disarmed chicken neck population that can't defend itself. It's simple psychology. They want you dependent, so that's coming up. But briefly, back to this New York case, where a newspaper did its job and noticed a report where one of the nurses complained and pointed out they were putting this lady on a respirator who was coming out of it, and that they just simply wanted to pump her stomach and try to get the drug overdose out of her stomach, a multi-drug overdose according to the report. And again, people say, well, why stick her on a ventilator? When they start taking the organs, she's going to die for real. So you've got to have that going to take your time getting them. So I thought I would play a little clip here from Monty Python. What film is this? I forget. The Meaning of Life? Yeah. And this is basically, it's satirical, but this is how it works. They come to the house, force their way in, say, hey, you got an organ donor card, we're taking your organs now. Because, see, they need that consent up front. And I'd be forgiving organs if you die in a car wreck or something. But you have a corrupt system. And they will look the other way and in some cases outright kill you when you go into the hospital. They're already euthanizing people all over the world. Once you bring in socialist health care, the case for killing Granny, cover of Newsweek. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones. This is the GCN Radio Network. GCNlive.com is the network website. My sites are prisonplanet.com, Infowars.com, and we are here to awaken humanity and to wage war on corruption. Stay with us. More straight ahead. There are a lot of people in this world who want money and power and want to dominate. And they don't know how to go out and write a book. They don't know how to play a piano. They don't know how to build a new electronic device. They don't know how to develop a new chemical processes to become wealthy and powerful. It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. All right, my friends, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It is 7/11, the 11th day of July 2013 on this Thursday edition. And I've said this hundreds of times. You've all heard it before. One reason my show is listenable is that I have quite a bit of data, a lot of research. I know a lot of factoids. I also can be entertaining when I blow up and melt down on air. But at the same time, we have a lot of amazing guests. And there is no radio consultant out there saying, hey, you ought to do this, you ought to do that. And in a way, that's good, but in a way, it's bad. Because I know that overall, even 10 years ago, sometimes I probably generally did a better radio show than I do now. Now, obviously, at points, the broadcast is more informed by an order of several magnitude. There are high points much higher than the type of info and understanding, but also just good radio than I had 10 years ago. Overall, we reach dizzying heights of awakening and flat-out entertainment. So there are bigger diamonds, but overall, I would say less diamonds in the aggregate. Because I've been doing this so long, I want to not degenerate, instead of evolve and develop and get better. And a lot of it is that I really could care less what people think about me now completely. I don't have as big an ego as I had 10, 15 years ago, where I would care about how I sounded or how I looked. And people ask me all the time, is your show real or is it an act? And I believe what I'm saying. When I get mad, it's real, but I'm letting myself do it. So does that make it an act? It's real, but there's an element to free will to go wild on the air. Now, quite frankly, sometimes, folks, I go so wild that I'm really asking myself, am I lying to myself just now? Wishing that I could say that I was in control. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. You've heard me hundreds of times start the broadcast in the last 5 years and say, I really want to take a lot of calls today. I mean, even big shows are amazed when their phone lines load. Ladies and gentlemen, I can turn on a computerized phone system and take 100 calls that will come in just a minute. Most shows lean on the callers like a boxer leaning on the ropes or holding the person they're boxing to rest. With me, it's the opposite. It's more of a frenzied, manic, frothing, kind of, what's the right word for it? Berserk. A berserking, fits and starts, train wreck. I mean, I can conduct the best radio interviews out there, sound like Charlie Rose, ask great questions, sit back, listen to the people, come off. I mean, I can do it in English accent if I wanted to. But I can't control myself. I won't do it. I could get up here and get calm like I am when I'm not on air and completely, eloquently communicate things. But then I get on air. What I'm saying is I get on air and I'm like half the man I am off the air. And so there is mega massive news. But when I come back, I'm going to give the phone number out. And I'm going to take 30 or 40 phone calls the next hour, or I'm going to have John Bound punch me in the nose live on air. That's a good way to start the broadcast, quoting Thomas Jefferson. It is 7/11, Thursday, July 11th, 2013. And here's what I want to do. And I've said this many times and really never done it in the last few years, but I do want to open the phones up right out of the start of the show, very early on, for your questions, your comments. If you agree, you disagree, first-time callers. I was listening to a little bit of the rebroadcast last night when I got in bed at about 11 o'clock at night and happened to hear a caller call in who I was a little bit rude to, just because I get so irritated by all the news and what's happening. And then, you know, the callers will ask me if they can talk about something, and that's kind of my pet peeve. You're on the air. I mean, you can come on and bring up whatever subject you want. But still, I was being a little bit rude with the gentleman, and that's just my observation, so I apologize. It's not a personal thing. This stuff really gets to me, and I get asked that a lot. How do you handle it? How does Alex Jones handle the pressure of reading this info and studying this info and then trying to talk about it? And the answer is I really don't handle it. I mean, I guess it's almost a form of therapy once I've gone over all this news, morning, noon, and night, and then come on air. But it's really almost like torture, because each story I could spend an hour on just fleshing out. Here's an example from yesterday, then I'll get to all the latest news we're going to be covering and then give the number out and go to your calls, and then second hour start getting into the news in depth. Because I want to shake the show up myself. The broadcast is exploding. It's getting all this attention, and you know, I tune in and listen to it sometimes, and it's really informative and great and sounds like really professional radio. Other times it sounds like somebody released a gorilla on PCP from the New York Zoo or something. But, I mean, look at this article. This is why I freak out. Patient wakes up as doctors get ready to remove organs. And then I am an expert on this from researching it for 4 years. Since I learned they were stealing organs, because my dad rewired jaws in hospitals and things and said it was well known they were killing people. And then it turned out Dallas hospitals were killing even healthy people for their organs. And Chicago and Austin, I mean, and Houston and New York. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's only the naivete of the general public that allows this type of stuff to go on. So there's an example. If I start reading this on air and then start demonically laughing on purpose to try to illustrate to people how over the top this is, because when you read the article, it's like, well, the nurses told him she was alive and had good brain waves and pulse and was responding to nerve stimulus. and that she had just, the woman had a prescription pill overdose, and that they should pump her stomach and give her charcoal, and that she would be fine. And the doctor said, no, we're taking her in to take her organs. And by the grace of God, as they began to prepare to do the opening incision, cutting through her ribs, busting her all open, to take their time sucking her dry. They even take the blood, the marrow, they sanguinate the whole deal. They can get $500,000 if the organs are all in order. $500,000. And the doctors reportedly, in some cases, get as much as a third of the cash. So you had a costly divorce, you've got a lot of alimony you're paying, child support, you got a $5 million house as a surgeon. What do they call those that get the organs out? And it just goes on and on. No, but this is a living person. What's an organ surgeon? A thoracic surgeon? Let's look it up. The point is that, you got a $5 million house. I mean, you don't want to just make $10,000 on a surgery. I mean, you want to make $100,000, $200,000, whatever. And my dad was a dentist and oral surgeon, and he just said it's well known in the medical community. The doctors say to their families, don't sign the organ donor card. Because a lot of hospitals, if you come in unconscious, I mean a knock on the head, they're going to kill you. And you see, they are the establishment wearing the white uniform, like a cop wearing a blue or black uniform, and so everyone bows down while you're the expert. See, medical tyranny is what Hitler went with first, because he could get away with it because the people would bow down to it and follow orders from it. And so, just so you know my frustration, they know how to organize in gangs and force you to transfer your money and your wealth to them, and to set up systems of propaganda that rationalize how they're doing that. I'm going to go directly to your phone calls for the balance of the hour, and then cover news, and then go back to your phone calls. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. Now, once I go to your calls, just make your point, your question. I'm going to move the next person, or I'll go into an hour-long diatribe. Or the first caller will be, I'm here during a mass shooting or something, and then the whole show will go that direction, which has actually happened before, where before it was even on the news. In the Blacksburg shooting, we had a caller call in and was saying it was happening. They could even hear the shots. And I'm like, is this true? Is this real? And then 10 minutes later, it was on the news. But before we go to them, my favorite health product, and that we've just seen miraculous results in weight loss, overall health, skin conditions going away, joint issues. So many people are malnourished. Beyond Tangy Tangerine at InfoWarsHealth.com. You get the biggest discounts there. Had a ORAC score of 5,745 per serving. That's off the charts. It's got hundreds of different things in you need. 90 essentials, the trace elements, you name it. Guess what, folks? They now have a totally organic one. It is so hard to have a certified, third-party certified, and USDA certified when you have hundreds of different ingredients. It is so hard. It took them 2 years. They did it, and it's got a score of, get ready for this, ladies and gentlemen, 8,000 total ORAC per serving. Citrus Peach Fusion. And I love both flavors. And the flavors grow on you as well, because your body just gets to where it knows how much nutrients are in it. And they're still selling the old Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I don't know which flavor I like best. I'm kind of, this one's growing on me. At first, I liked the old one better. The Beyond Tangy Tangerine, it's called tangerine, but I think it tastes like kind of fruit punchy to me, / orange juicy, with 115 vegetables and fruits. This one's got even more. And it's just, there's nothing like it out there, and your purchase supports the broadcast as well. You can sign up for auto ship and get free shipping at InfoWarsHealth.com as well. And you can also become a distributor when you pay $10 like Costco or whatever, and get big discounts at InfoWarsTeam.com if you want to become a distributor. But the Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 Citrus Peach Fusion, made with certified organic ingredients, all non-GMO ingredients, not just organic, I'm sorry, non-GMO on top of it. You can also call. We'll put that back up on screen. I'll give folks the number. Thank you. 888-789-9277. 888-789-9277 if you have any questions or comments or want folks online to help you. It's pretty simple to do, but if you're like me and not too technical on the internet, you might need help signing up for auto ship or finding the best discounts on there, or if you want to become a distributor. So the phone number is on the site. And there's over 400 products on there, and they're all the best. I mean, that's why I go out, I find the best. That's what I promote. InfoWarsHealth.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0. And then they've got now the Osteo FX in powder form, more concentrated. So you just put a scoop in water, bang that back. If you don't like, you know, drinking the clear, white, pasty stuff. A lot of people like it. I don't particularly like it. I complained about it. And they said, guess what? We're already developing Longevity Beyond Osteo FX. So it's got even more stuff in it. And that's now brand new as of yesterday at InfoWarsHealth.com, ladies and gentlemen. And all your purchases make the broadcast possible. Okay, that's enough. I'm going to take calls just all the way with news until our guest joins us. Let's go to them without further ado. Jim in Texas, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, love your show. Going to get right to the point. You were mentioning about pet peeves, so I figured I'd call in and let you know one of mine. First of all, don't censor your rants, because what your rants actually are, Alex, is emotional analysis, which all of us need to have because we don't have the expertise of sifting through all this information like you do, okay? It annoys me when you censor yourself in the middle of an informative, entertaining rant to go to some meathead who gets on there and doesn't even know he's on the air, okay? That's annoying. So, quick little suggestion. Schedule the calls for half an hour. The first hour, do all your news the first half hour. The news you don't get to, go back the second hour if you don't have a guest. But please, do not censor your rants. They're informative and they're entertaining.
No, I hear you. The rants are painful for me, though. I mean, when I'm up there freaking out and really trying to illustrate how corrupt the tyranny is, it's like a person. I've seen cases. I mean, there's a low probability these people were just idiots and didn't listen to the nurse and just decided to not, you know, get the pills out of her stomach or whatever, and just decided to not administer the charcoal, and just, okay, maybe, you know, 1 in 1,000, in my opinion, in my researched, educated view on this. But we know all over the country they kill people, and it's come out. And again, when I was 15 years old going to get my, take driver's ed and everything, and I was taking driver's ed at school, I was going to take the final test a few months before I was 16. And my dad was taking me there some days, you know, for the after-school driver's ed, because there was also some after-school stuff, driving classes, whatever you call it. And he told me, listen, don't sign that card. And he said, the doctors don't do it with their kids and their wives and their husbands. And I said, why? And he goes, I've just been told that they will not take care of you. And I said, what, if you're brain dead? He goes, no. I mean, the word is they're killing healthy people. And he said, I'm just going to leave it at that. Don't sign it. So I did what he said. And then later, years later, it came out on 60 Minutes and stuff. The point is, you read this article, and separate from them taking the organs, from people that could easily be saved and who aren't brain dead, aren't even brain damaged, just like it was a conspiracy theory in the news 5 years ago that Israel was grabbing detainees and then putting them under and taking their organs. Turned out that was true. You know, first it was what, Dutch newspapers and others that reported it when Israeli doctors blew the whistle. And it was like, oh, anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. But then it turned out it was true. They were taking the organs. But see, the media then tried to make it about, oh, you're saying, you know, Jews are inherently evil stealing organs, when that wasn't even the issue. Corrupt governments and corrupt institutions all over the world traffic in organs, children, drugs, weapons, chemicals, you name it. And the public being chumps, is what allows all this to happen. And then you read the article, and it's just like that New York Times article about Bayer shipped its riskier products overseas. Risky? They knew it had HIV and hepatitis in the factor VIII and shipped it into countries where they had already given political contributions like Canada and France and Australia, and so they could get away with it. And it came out, they knew it was a death sentence, they did it. That's not risky. If I go over and kill my neighbor, it's not Alex did a risky thing. No, that's a side diversion. And it's like this ABC News article. This is one article out of no exaggeration, probably 200 on my desk. All just as important. It's all about, it was just was an accident, but thank goodness she opened her eyes. And then it was so human that it was like, she opened her eyes, this is too obvious. And then they had to not cut her organs out. And then it describes what went on. It was exactly midnight when Colleen Burns eerily opened her eyes and looked at the orbiting lights above her. Shocked doctors who believed she was dead. It goes on to say that the nurses told him, heart rate, everything. She's right there. Get. So see, they're like, they believe she was dead. And we're about to remove her organs and donate them to patients on the transplant waiting list because they had the money. The Syracuse Post-Standard unearthed a report. See, this stuff's all over the place because it's just a report. Nothing's ever done. From the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, that's like Satan overseeing a low-level demon, that chronicled the series of errors that led to the near organ removal of a living patient at St. Joseph Hospital Health Center in Syracuse, New York in 2009. This just broke yesterday. The patient did not suffer any type of arrest of the heart, did not have irreversible brain damage. The HHS report concluded the patient did not meet criteria for withdrawal of care. So see, once you're withdrawing care, somebody's alive now, we're going to withdraw care and take their organs. Well, now it's just, we're just going to take it even though you're alive. And, well, you better hope you open your eyes. Next it'll be, we have to sedate them because they're dead, so they're a zombie. We have to. According to the report, doctors had inaccurately diagnosed Burns with irreversible brain damage. Yeah. And ignored nurses who noticed signs that Burns was improving. She curled her toes when touched, flared her nostrils, and moved her mouth and tongue. She's like trying to come out of it.